A very good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed the world. Welcome to the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Welcome to Monday Night Motorsport, Night 1, Week 6, Term 2. Let's have at it. The start of the second half of the season and two famed S venues, front and centre, this evening. First up, the open wheel component of Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport takes us to Suzuka International Racing Course in Japan. And, of course, we've got the 30-minute race about to ignite there for Waste Options Formula 3. Then we head to everybody except the birthday boy, Nick Vodiatis' favourite. And by the way, happy birthday to him. Many happy returns. Compliments of the season, my friend. In case I don't get a chance to message after the fact this evening, I did see it pop up in my alerts this morning that he was celebrating the aging process. But his least favourite venue, and everybody else doesn't mind it, Sebring International Raceway in Sebring, Florida. The airfield there is going to be the epicenter, the playground for Waste Options GT3 this evening, and we are very excited about that. Good evening, everybody. Zach Coburn alongside Dan Yeaman. Welcome to Monday Night Motorsport, the start of the second half of the season. 11:40 local server time. I'll update all of that for you in a moment. Last of the flying laps unfolding now for Stephen Bull and also Craig Bond, Brett Barker, Guy Leach, Richard King and John Baldwin. Everybody else has pretty much checked out as far as qualifying is concerned. I'm going to get to the times in just a moment, but there's the circuit, 5 3/4 kilometres in length. You know it is the home of the Japanese Formula One Grand Prix. It is one of our favourites, and it's a great circuit for open wheelers. There's no doubt about that. One-way traffic in the points race at the moment. There's some looming challenges for the minor positions there in the form of Guy Leach, Brett Barker and Alex Tzoukas. Then a gap back to John Baldwin, Lachlan Purvis, Adam Punslow and Mark Hebel. But yes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It has been an absolute obliteration, domination from the 1-9 stable to get this season underway. Last week, formidable and clinical from Aidan Cale, 110 points to the good on Braden Sagasa. He's telling people at home that he's not, the world's biggest Suzuka fan, but I'm still expecting him to be in the top three tonight, Dan Yeaman. And as we look at the qualifying totem pole, he is third. He is the points leader at the moment. He's advantage 135 points, so he doesn't need to win tonight. In fact, he's got two drop rounds, completely and utterly full to spare up his sleeve coming into this round of the season. Tonight, our focus, of course, by the way, with GT3, just to finish that off, will be the pro split for you to get the second half of the season underway. The third of the 60-minute races. Yes, we're back to 60-minute mode, folks, for the next 2 weeks. Then back to sprint racing. Then we get stuck into the 90-minute enduro from the Circuit de la Sarthe around the campaign out. Dan Yeaman, good evening to you. Looking forward to this one. And Stephen Bull, very late in the session, has wedged himself between the two 1-9 boys. Very razor-thin margins at the front of the field, though. Just 0.048 covers first and third. This is going to be good.
Yeah, fingers crossed for this one here, Zach. As you said, getting ourselves some full-length racing formats, both here in Wings and Slicks F3 as well as GT3 later on. But as the drivers will start taking to the grid for us here today, let's walk you through those results in a bit more detail, perhaps with you, Zach.
Indeed, and 1 o'clock local server time, 23km/h winds in a southwesterly direction, 21, the ambient, 36 on track, cloudy conditions, but so far it's dry and 84% humidity as well. 0.047 the margin, first to third. Braden Sagasa has another pole position from Stephen Bull. Good to see him back on the grid. Aidan Cale, Mark Hebel, so 1-9 dominate the first two rows of the grid. Alex Tzoukas, Jaden Draper, Adam Punslow, Craig Bond late in the piece in 8. And Brett Barker and Guy Leach make up the first 5 rows on this grid. 6th row, Adam Lavis, slowly but surely getting acquainted to being in the driver's seat on a Monday night rather than in this driver's seat in the producer-director chair that Dan Yeaman's occupying at the moment. Luke Brooker, Lockie Purvis from the 7th row of the grid, Richard King, John Baldwin, Mark McNamara, Brett Bradbury and Daniel Correa-Sarr will round out the field of those that set times in qualifying. And of those that don't, Jonathan Harris, Bruce White and Kevin Wakefield round out this 22-car field. So we've got a Formula One grid size for Wings and Slicks tonight. Waste Options Formula 3 coming to you from the Suzuka International Racing Course in Suzuka, Japan. Then, of course, on to the Americas. Big week, massive weekend of motorsport has wrapped up. Now we get back into sim racing, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed the NERBS 24, the Indy 500 qualifying, the NASCAR All-Star race. monster shunts in MotoGP last night at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya as well. Let's go racing in the sim world. The start of the second half of turn 2. Lights out, away we go. Beautiful start from Mark Ebel on the inside of the second row. And Aiden Cale up on the outside. They'll try and go 3 wide with Stephen Bull on the run towards turn 1, and Heppel goes through to third. Cale's up on his outside. It's a 1-9, 1, 2, 3 out of the first quarter, and Bondi, I can see there, has also got 2 spots off the jump. So he's got the whole shot down packed. Oh, no trouble and gone. There goes Mark Heppel. Caught the grass, into the wall, gone. And then there were 2 at the front for 1-9. Massive, massive carnage, damage for Mark Heppel. That one going no further. He'll have to get on the tow rope. The rear wing's gone, the suspension broken, and he's done for the night.
I don't think Heppel's caught a break this season as Marks, and it feels like the tail continues on as old as time. If there's going to be an issue, we find Mark Heppel pretty close to the epicenter of it, unfortunately, this season. Not necessarily of his own making, to be fair and to be clear. That this isn't a drag on his misfortunes this season.
Well, that's exactly right. Caught the grass on that instance, so yeah, okay, that is slight misjudgment, driver error, but there have been other instances this campaign where, as you would say, he has been an innocent bystander. More than one. And when it's not your day, month, year, term, there's certain messages on the wall that just ram home the point. Bondi down the inside. That's to go back to 6th on the inside of Adam Fonslow. Jaden Draper, the next target. Now, Fonslow back down the inside of Bond, not yet. There was quite a bit of shuffling in amongst all of that on the back of the incident for Mark Heppel. Everybody taking evasive action! Big one at the Casio Triangle. Richard King on his way to pit lane as well. And joining him will be Mark McNamara. Bruce White's a bit too far back to have played a part in all of that. 3 cars on pit lane on the opening lap. 3 rear wings gone, having parted company with race cars. If this was real world motorsport, you'd already see a safety car on the circuit just for the debris cleanup alone, ladies and gentlemen. Those 2 have been able to get back under their own steam, which is good to see. Braden Sagassa at the front from Aiden Cale, 0.73 the margin. Cale did suggest that this was one of his weaker courses. We were calling, oh, no trouble. That is Aiden Cale with a slowdown, potentially. And he's dropped down to 5th spot, right on cue, as we were talking about him, and this being one of his weaker circuits by his own admission last week. We called BS on that because he said the same thing about Spa and came out and absolutely dominated, carved up. Sagassa had a dose of the SADs last Monday night. He's looking to bounce back. So far, so good for him. 1 second to the good on this second lap. I've just realised that I'm a bit dry in the throat, so I'm going to have some liquid in a moment. I'll let Yeaman take over. We've still got Mark Heppel on the tow rope. Meanwhile, Richard King, Mark McNamara and Bruce White, well, he won't be going too much further. He's parked up on the exit of turn 2. King and McNamara able to get back out on the track in 4.92 and 9.38 seconds respectively. The question is, do they need to make a second stop in what's looking like a 16-lap race here, or will they be good to make it to the end after being mechanically meatballed on that opening lap? And Bruce White has been able to resume, but he's not going to be factoring in the business end of the equation here by a long shot. Aiden Cale has already got back up into 4th. He's got back by Bondi. He'll waste no time in trying to go out in pursuit of Jaden Draper. He may have to settle for 3rd because Stephen Bull's such a formidable force in open wheel racing. This is a rare moment in which we've seen 1-9, not 1-2, in the form of Sagassa and Cale. And it may just be the invitation, the one opportunity that everyone else receives to make the most of it. And Stephen Bull is wasting no time in trying to stay in close proximity to Braden Sagassa, whilst obviously trying to shake off the threat that will be Aiden Cale once he can clear Jaden Draper. They are 2 seconds off the pace at the moment, and we've just seen Alex Tzitzikas off the road as well.
Yeah, a couple of excursions now for a couple of drivers in this group here. So here's, he's just pushing the limits as example out of Degner too. We kind of lose it there in the background of the shot, but ended up straddling the curb a fraction. The underfloor might have gotten stuck there for a the moment for good measure. And just needed the run side. He's also picked up a bit of damage on the right front corner, so that will be hampering the aerodynamic performance of his Dallara F3 tonight at this point in time. We'll have to watch to see if that'll be manageable. So far it appears so, yes, but that maybe comes into play at the later stage of the race if that front right tyre is suffering. Oh, he's going to hit the pit limiter on the way out of the corner, I think, and accidentally stall his run on the backstretch.
We're still on the wiser as to exactly what triggered Aiden Cale's slip down the order either. He'll be looking to alleviate that, though, as he goes by Jaden Draper on the run through the Casio Triangle. And have a look at this further back. Suzuka's struggling to hold on to 12th. Adam Lavis to 11th. John Baldwin in behind him, round onto the main straight. Have a look at Cale back to 3rd. Bondi wants a piece of this as well up on the outside of Draper. 3 wide down the main straight, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. That won't work if you're still 3 wide at turn 1, I don't think, boys. Who's going to back out of it? It's Bondi. And around the outside went Draper. Cale will get him on the exit. Consolidate the spot. Draper back across to cover off the threat of Bond. Really good stuff. Intense action in the opening stages here of this important 6th round of the championship. Braden Sagass's bolted 1.4 to the good on Stephen Bull. That's as close as anyone has got from outside the 1-9 stable to Braden Sagassa so far this season. It may be one of the rounds that could go down as a great equaliser in this campaign, but still, whoa, Bondi, hold it together, son. I won't elaborate on why, but he did suggest to me earlier today that his mind might not necessarily be 100% on the job, so he was anticipating a weak sort of drive by his own high standards tonight, but so far holding his own. He was solid off the start. He got balked by Heppel's demise, and Heppel's still back on the pit lane too, by the way, back on the tow rope a second time. The reality of the matter is for Bondi, he was up 3 spots with Heppel's demise, but then he went back down 2 and has now returned to being +3. Next target, Jaden Draper. A lot of movement up and down that order. Suzuka's down 7 spots, Leap's down 4, King down 4, McNamara down 3, Heppel down 18. Biggest movers, Kevin Wakefield up 5 spots, but he didn't post a qualifying time, so he's ineligible for the bonus. Lockie Purvis up 6 spots. Tends to chase his tail reasonably well in the Formula 3s. So he might not necessarily have the 1-lap pace down packed down, but he's certainly got that racecraft.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where it's like, if you can keep your thing pointing in the right spots and keep a sharp pair of eyes up there, you can pick up spots. Yeah, your pace doesn't necessarily indicate you get all other factors being equal. So there will be a bit of that here. Again, 30 minutes is just enough time in these kinds of cars where you have to sort of mind them a little bit as well, not push them absolutely every single corner of every single lap. Otherwise, you may start struggling with the front end if it's the highest speed stuff where you're really hammering it. Or alternatively, these things, you can still light the rears up, and the hairpin up here also a good spot where the inside rear tyre might come off the ground slightly, and the differential won't be able to fully overcome that, and it might light up the inside rear a bit more relative to the outside, and they get a bit of uneven slip and spin going on that rear axle.
And we've already seen a little bit of slip and spin tonight. Albeit the grass did play a huge role in Mark Heppel's demise. He's back out there, but is the better part of 11 3/4 down on his 2 teammates at the moment. There he is, coming back around onto the main straight. Will he continue on this time through? Yes. Will that hopefully be the last of his pit stops? You would also hope yes. Considering that a minute 52 a lap, so yeah, always difficult on the mathematical front, those ones, ladies and gentlemen, but the transit down pit lane will obviously chew up a little bit of the clock. I'm teetering on the gamble of whether it's going to be 16 neat laps or we're just going to scrape in a 17th. We'll keep an eye on that as the race plays out. There's Luke Brooker in 10th spot at the moment. Nice to pick him up up 3 so far. Purvis up 6 spots. Adam Lavis is sitting there on the fringe of the top 10 and 11th. That's the predominantly green and white car you see behind Brooker, who's giving the 9th place Joel Farley a bit of a hurry up at the moment in the Ignium Motorsport entry. Kevin Wakefield was off the road there momentarily. And 152.295. Fastest lap of the race for Stephen Bull. Is this the night where the winning ways of 1-9 come undone? Cale was got by Draper. He's checked out ahead of Draper and Bond to the tune of a second, 2 in Bond's case. Now it's 3.5 seconds, which is a huge invoice to try and reel it on Sagassa and Bull, especially when Yeoman, they were only separated by 0.5 of a second on 1 lap pace in qualifying. So Cale might need to get a little bit crafty here with his strategy, or he may need to hope for a little bit of squabbling between Sagassa and Bull at some point, in the hope that they'll hold each other up and he can reel in the deficit that way.
Yeah, I think it's looking at some of the lap times we've had from these three. 52.4 Sagassa's best and 52.5 was his last. Sim Bull's best is the fastest of the race last time around, as you just pointed out. And Aidan Cowell's best valid lap is 52.7, but he did a 52.20 on that last lap. So seeing the track limits somewhere on that last lap, denying him the chance to have the purple time next to his name at this particular point of the race. But yeah, it's really, with those kind of numbers, you need Bull to catch Sagassa to be able to hold him up. That puts them in the high 52s more than the low 52s for Cale to even have a chance of getting reeled in.
Ooh.
And even then, it'll be a slow, steady reel at that. There's pitters, yes.
Draper and Barker to pit lane. Actually, you mentioned slow and steady. I can't help myself. I'm going to go there early in the piece, Dan. Brett Bradbury in as well. So 3 pit stops at the end of the 6th lap of proceedings. Jonathan Harris came in at the end of lap 3 as well. We've also had King, McNamara and White, most obviously. What's interesting for mine, you look at everything that's going on here. You mentioned the word slow and steady, that burn. A good friend of the GSRC and a good friend of the Australian sim racing community in general, Sean McNamara, the other day, tried to settle a debate on social media. Now, we know how well that it usually goes. For some reason, he left New South Wales clean out of it. I don't know why. But he said, Victoria or Queensland, which state has the worst drivers?
Yes, I know which I know the one you speak of. I didn't necessarily look to engage.
No.
Dissect the commentary
that
may have come
going on there. Yes.
Yes.
Scotty Rankin was quick to point out. He said Queensland, and I said, look, I agree with my colleague here, Sean, because I said they're never in a hurry to get anywhere. Hence the use of the term. That's just one reason why I refer to it as the slow and steady state. He said, stop calling us the slow state. And anyway, as a full circle kind of moment, just to add fuel to the fire, because I can't help myself, another ingredient of the reasons why was on Sunday morning. As I pulled up here in Cessnock, my sister invites me to join her on a run into town to do some grocery top-ups, where Woolworths and Coles are open at 7 a.m. And I said to Sean, I took a cheeky shot of the Woolies logo outside the main entry there. And I said, whilst you're still waiting for the shops to open, I've already been and run my errands for the day. Enjoy yours. He didn't reply to that one for some reason. I'm not sure why. Down the main straight we go. All I said when he said, you've got to stop calling us the slow state, I said, well, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that I'm not actually, factually correct. That's terrible. That's unlucky for Jaden Draper, and even more so unlucky for Brett Barker. So Draper was looped around trying to recover at 130R, and as he's done the flick spin, Brett Barker, I should say, has arrived on scene here, and Draper's caught the grass, so that's what led to the spin in the first place. Now, there's nothing wrong with the rejoin until there, because as he's approached the apex to the corner, Brett Barker's caught him off guard. He would not have seen Barker, I don't think, Dan. He'll probably get slugged for it in one way, shape or form, and I feel for Brett Barker in that instance because he's completely an innocent bystander. But look at this, just arrives, yep. And Barker's obviously gone for the racing line. Whether he may have been able to alter his driving line to go a little bit wider to give Draper a little bit more room there to complete the rejoin a little bit cleaner, I'm not sure. It's a 50-50 sort of one, but usually race control will go with the offending car, which is the rejoining car.
I don't think there's much of a good look in that one there for Jaden either. Brett appears to have left the space for Jaden to gather the car up on the apex of that exit of the Casio Triangle, and They then come together on the exit of it. Now, I've also been looking at drivers like Aiden Cal.
Yes, mate.
Probably best to bring our attention back to what's happening here for our top two, because Stephen Bull, lap by lap, has been dragged back into this one here. So we get this to refresh with the latest lap. Kale's also on the move too.
So how good's this? Because you've now got a genuine 3-horse race. So your first observation is that the margin between Sagasa and Bull is now under a second. And that's the first time tonight. But at the same time, on the same lap that's happened, Kale's gone out and punched out the fastest lap of the race so far, 1 minute 52.239. Now, these three at the moment remain in qualifying order. Kale's had a moment. That explains the deficit of 1.8 to Stephen Bull. Last time through, he was only 0.06 of a second faster than Bull, and he was 0.2 of a second faster than Sagasa. So Kale's on the move, Bull's on the move, and this one's teetering on a knife's edge at the moment. Could go either way, and we will wait with bated breath for that first round and only round of pit stops that comes up. Well, we're already in the fuel window. We're past half race distance. We're already in the fuel window, as you can see here, for the drivers that have completed their stops so far, down to Jaden Draper in 13th spot. Should point out also, Mark McNamara has retired. He did so at the end of lap 6, and he's the only car in retirement so far. Mark Heppel will get by Bruce White at some point, I do envisage, based on outright lap pace, and ably assisted by the fact that White has served a stop and hold penalty by the looks of my timing screen here. 52.53 seconds on pit road. There's no explanation for that other than the obvious, and that is an unsafe pit entry in the eyes of iRacing, unless there's been an incident on track that we have missed. So maybe we'll have a look at Bruce White's run into pit lane and see if there's something sinister there. Adam Funslow has gone through on Craig Bond. Bondy resumes and is into pit lane, but something's happened at the Casio Triangle to see Bond.
Yep. We have a flag. Oh, and it's going to be self-inflicted by the looks of it there. Oh, yes.
Yes. And then the unsafe entry into pit lane, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets slugged for that too, quite frankly. Oh, no, he's okay. 4.52 seconds. See, again, no consistency from circuit to circuit, because if that was the Nürburgring or the Hockenheim Ring or Mount Fuji, you're sitting there for 35 seconds. No consistency circuit to circuit. No wonder drivers get frustrated. Now,
race lead for this.
0.6 now the margin, Dan. It's gone down ever so narrowly again, ever so marginally. It's been trimmed once more. Kevin Wakefield's got to slow down to serve. And we now have everyone down to 10th, still to stop, and everyone beyond 10th has stopped. And Bruce White is now parked up and retired as well, by the looks of this. So Mark Heppel has indeed gone through into position number 20. 2 retirements so far, 20 still running. Heppel has gone down a lap, but I mean, that could well be until such time as we see the pit stops play out. Because as we've already mentioned, the top 10 are yet to stop. Lap 11, 10 gone in 18 minutes and 50 seconds. Yeah, I find it easy to envisage that we could sneak in a 17th lap, but I don't think we get at 16 or 17. We don't get any more than that. And actually, now that I'm looking at the numbers more closely, I reckon we're probably safe. Stephen Bull and Braden Sagasa aren't safe at the moment because that battle's still firmly on the line. And Aiden Carl still has the fastest lap of the race, but he's lost ground to them. It's 2.7 seconds now between first and third, and 2.2 between second and third. That having had a look at it now, 1 minute 52 is the standing lap time. So 1 minute 50 and 2 would be 3:40. 3 times 3:40 is 11, and take the 2 seconds, 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Once you throw in the pit stop as well, yeah, we're not going any further. I'm sorry, we're not going any further than 16 laps on this one. I just don't see any conceivable way that we can do it.
No, we'd be breaking the time and space to sort that out. I just wanted to note here that on that was the last particular lap, Aiden Cowell, after looking so good relative, Suzuka has finally stumbled a bit here. Now Stephen Bull very much is in the box seat, and now Suzuka's turned to be in the hot seat, as they are surely coming down the last couple of laps. There's also be a good guide here for...
Watch the defence. Yeah, there it is.
Someone like Mark Heppel, who had to do that lap 1 pit stop.
Oh.
How far can these guys go before they have to get the fuel in the car to make it home to the finish? Bull's going to cut in early.
Bull's gone.
So that's
Bull's going to zig, and Suzuka's going to zag, mate.
Yeah, critically, that's the important thing there, is that they're not on the fuel limit there that I'm wondering about. This is just simply Stephen reckoning he might be able to find the pace in clean air.
Got to try something. I mean, because Suzuka has already proven on that lap alone that he's not going to make the task of overtaking easy or simple for Stephen Bull, nor should he as the leading front runner and the pace man of this series at the moment. Out comes Bull in behind Guy Leach.
About a second. As long as there's no real dirty air troubles for Stephen here, he might get the whisper of slipstream in the back half of the lap just to help him pull him along, which might be what he needs to help with an undercut slingshot.
Now, mate Adam Laver sits 4th at the moment, and Luke Brooker and Guy Leach remain the only others yet to stop, apart from Suzuka Kale and Adam Funslow. Funslow, of course, running effective 4th at the moment, but that will change, I would envisage, ever so gradually once the pit stops play out. Bondi will be ruining that mistake on the entrance to pit lane, because it probably cost him a good 6 or 7 seconds, just in terms of trying to be able to loop it around and point it back in the right direction. That's going to impact his potential for a top 5 finishing result tonight. Anything else to take away from this at the moment? Not really. Good effort so far from Lockie Purvis, second best placed on circuit in terms of those that have completed a pit stop, but he's 13 seconds off Stephen Bull, that's the concern. And now Brett Bradbury's on the tow rope too, so Bradbury's potentially done for the night. Just don't know what has brought about his demise. Have a look at Guy Leach now under pressure. This is exactly what Yeaman was talking about, folks. Leaders on the lane. Suzuka and Kale on the lane. Ball to the inside of Leach and done. So he was going to get the tow. He was going to get the slipstream. Did he encounter a bit of dirty air? Potentially, but it was minimal. And he's made the most of the one opportunity presented to him to make an overtake, to grab the slipstream on the way through. And Stephen Bull displaces the
pit exit blend
yet to
here.
pit Guy Leach. And here they come, and Stephen Bull's your leader in Japan. The undercutters worked a treat. Suzuka and Kale, 4.6 and 4.65 respectively on the jacks. In fact, they were identical stops, 4.65. And Stephen Bull with 4.57 has undercut him by an extraordinary margin. He's a second to the good. Who saw that coming? We said the pit stop sequence was going to be critical, and it's helped Aiden Kale trim the fat on the gap to Braden Suzuka. It's 1.1 between those two now, but the problem is, for the first time this season, they've actually got traffic ahead of them.
3/10 faster. Yeah, I thought I'd bring this up here. 3/10 faster in the pit lane. Let me see if I can get that information for you here. Yeah, I can. I'll actually replace the pit lane.
This is the transit, is it?
Yeah, the transit from cone to cone inside the pits.
There you go.
So 3/10 is what Bull gained inside the pit lane. The rest of his 1 second that he picked up has happened on the circuit on that outlap.
Yep, and on his in lap, more to the point. And
yeah.
Sorry, on his out lap, you're right, and on Suzuka and Kale's in lap. But it's interesting too, because that tells. Oh, Kale on the edge, slipping and sliding his way through. They're leaving no stone unturned tonight. Have a look at Draper and Bond going at it at the spoon. Bondi around the outside for 6th. Holding it down nicely. Next target, Lockie Purvis, who has fought back beautifully from 14th to 5th. Up the back straight towards 130R we go. Here's Draper back down the inside. Blavis is up in 8th spot. Bondi's been relegated once more back to 7th. If If they keep duking it out like this, Lockie Purvis is going to check out. Bond down the inside again. But Draper will have the line. Back to the main straight we go. Good scrap. So, essentially, it was a 4/10 turnover, or 0.03, or 0.38 of a second turnover for Stephen Ball, because he was also 0.08 of a second quicker on the block. Draper and Bond still to turn 1. Oh, jeez. Anyone getting some Prost Senna sort of vibes with that approach to turn 1? My goodness.
Well, not done yet.
Tight. That's really courteous racing, I reckon, from Jaden Draper. Bondi's not making life easy for him and not yielding, and Draper had no choice to avoid contact. I think he had to get out of the accelerator. Well done.
That was yield or die right there for Draper, with the way he was told, here is your car width. You will not have any more offered to you there. The problem here is
being
that
very forceful and aggressive.
Craig's not going to be able to shake him because of just how powerful the slipstream is, and he's got absolutely nothing now. This has allowed, as you said, of course, Lockie Purvis to check out to the tune of 2.6 seconds ahead. So he's got no benefit helping him. He is now the aero block by which Draper, Lavis, and Luke Brooker all get their benefit from.
Cale has caught Sagasa as well. So it's 0.4 between the two teammates, and Stephen Bull is 2 seconds to the good. So at long last, we may see a new name on the winners list in this series. And both of these guys highlighted that Suzuka could be a little bit of a stumbling block, but it's been a near faultless season to this point. Oh no, until then, contact between the two teammates. What is it? What on earth is going on here? Braden Sagasa's got his done. The rear wing has parted company with the car. Aiden Cale goes to second. Surely an invoice on its way. Cale's got a mechanical meatball. Sagasa should. Unbelievable. Just when it was looking like, okay, first has gone banging, we'll settle for second and third, it goes up in smoke. And look at this. It's not getting any better. Not any less heated between Draper and Bond, but now Adam Lavis and Luke Brooker have joined in the fight too.
Draper trying.
Kidding me?
Draper trying the outside that time through the first two turns. It didn't stick though on the exit of turn 2, so he has to get back in line again. And they're now going to run up on Sagasa here in a second, folks, because of his troubles. And I think Cale's had trouble. Yeah.
Lockie Purvis is fourth. Purvis is fourth.
He's going to get third off of.
Third.
He'll get third off of Cale once he gets back, because Cale's really struggling with his car despite the lack of visual damage. It is seriously, he was having a big struggle through Degner's 1 and 2.
White flag this time by, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Bonding trying to hold on to fifth. Have a look at this. They've leapfrogged Sagasa. So they've caught him, they've pounced on him, and divided the pack into two. Because Sagasa's sitting helplessly in the middle at the moment. Cale and Sagasa are going nowhere but pit lane, although technically, I don't want to get too technical here, but let's be perfectly honest, we are within striking distance of the checkered flag. Legally, they can get home without getting pinged by iRacing for not clearing the mechanical meatball. So Cale is good to go to the end if he wants to. But he could lose out to Adam Funslow in the process.
Oh,
Whoa,
there goes
Sagasa! That was always destined to happen, the rear wing. Without that, you're a passenger, a sitting duck. Cale does press on to see the white flag. Let's go, one more time around at Suzuka. Bondi and Draper arguing over fifth. Draper's got his nose in front. Bond back down the inside to 1. Draper around the outside. Northwind Motorsport versus Craig Bond Racing. How good's this? Oh, no, it's not. It's not good anymore. They've finally come together. A top 5 goes banging for the pair of them. Are you kidding me? The carnage in this final 5 minutes, and Luke Brooker is in 5th. Unreal.
He's got a right train behind him, though. Any one of these 5, I reckon, will have a chance at this. Brett Barker recovering here to P6 at the moment.
And Alex Tazika's back to 8th as well. Good recovery from him too. Guy Leach well back in 10th. looking good for a top 10 after all that. Joel Farley through on Alex Tzoukas now. They're side by side to the hairpin. Stephen Bull on a dramatic night at Suzuka is a quarter of a lap from victory. Brooker is fifth, under pressure from Barker. Lavis and Tzoukas stand to gain from that should they come together. But Stephen Bull is through the Casio triangle for the final time and making his way onto the main straight. Stephen Bull is victorious in Japan. Oh, the winning run for 1-9 has finally come to an end. In the most spectacular fashion, the most dramatic way, Cale will hold on to second. And even with a broken car, he still managed to somehow tame Suzuka to the point where my prediction was right that he would end up on the podium. We just didn't expect it to happen like that. And Luke Brooker, well done. Got a top 5. Funslow in for third, Purvis fourth. Brooker held off a mounting number of challenges, including Barker, Lavis, Tzoukas and Farley. In fact, you look at those, it's Formula V margins. It's the second covering 5th and 9th. And then back to Guy Leach in 10th, ahead of Daniel Caressa, John Baldwin. Bondi will be disappointed. Sagasa, Harris, King, Wakefield and Heppel. Draper did not make it home. He had to tow. And Bondi limped it home with a broken rear end, as did Braden Sagasa. Drop rounds incoming. That's what they're there for. What the hell was that? Unbelievable. Let's have a look. This was Draper and Bond coming to blows. And it was inevitable, I have to say, unfortunately. There it is. Draper just smashed his front end and obviously wasn't in a position to be able to drive it home. Dan, your take?
Yeah, I just wanted to go on board to confirm. Yeah, the gap was there, but it just trying to maintain a bit too much exit speed from Draper. Wasn't able to fit into the gap that Bondi left for him there. And yeah, with his front energy, yeah, well, he ends up getting there against the tyre one or second time. I think, yeah, knocks the front right completely off the thing. Whereas Bond at that point, he's got what Braden's got in the form of well, yeah, no rear wing. As long as he then didn't overdrive it back to the pits, well, he was able to stay ahead of Braden. So put that in perspective. That one lap, sans rear wing, was manageable. Now, speaking of
net code, it looked like there was a little bit of that. There was a bit of that.
There was a bit of that, yes. But also, just at the same time, Jaden's trajectory just didn't quite line up with what Craig had offered him.
Correct. Which was next to nothing. 3/5 of you know what. Now let's have a look at this, because this is the big talking point of the night. Oh. For the fact that they were trying to go too wide in there, Carl's too wide into the corner. And Sagasa, let's have a look at this again.
He's just in too hot, Aiden. Yeah, he's up against the white
all
line.
All over the ripple strip.
So yeah, it's got a number on the left front corner, even though we can't see it from these shots. But there's the steering damage, the steering angle to tell you about it.
And Sagasa really unlucky in the grand scheme of things to go up and over on his lid. In saying all of that though, Dan, when you look at that incident a third time, and I know we will, Sagasa did everything right. He took the outside line. He was out in the weeds in the marbles, but it was the way in which Carl's car was firmly unsettled on the ripple strip that caused the concertina effect, and no other factors really, because all that would have happened there for Sagasa was he would have gone around the outside of the right to make it very tight on the inside on the left to get back to the main straight. Well, I didn't think 1-9's winning ways were going to be undone like that. But have a look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Bull from Aiden Carl, Adam Funslow, Lockie Purvis, driver of the night, quite frankly, to go from 14th to 4th in amongst all that collateral. That was just chaos in the end. Brett Barker was 6th behind Luke Brooker, a top 5 for him. Well done. Adam Lavis, Alex Tzoukas, Joel Farley, and Guy Leach made up the top 10. Daniel Caressa was 11th. John Baldwin, Craig Bond, Braden Sagasa, and Jonathan Harris take us back to 15th. 16th for Richard Kingdon, Kevin Wakefield, Jaden Draper. Late race retirement. He'll still be classified as 19th there in the end. Despite the actually, well, hang on. Mark Heppel's crossed the line and Jaden Draper towed back. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, because my screen's saying Draper ahead of, Heppel ahead of Draper. And the iRacing screen is saying Jaden Draper ahead of Mark Heppel, but it'll be because Draper completed 15 laps before Heppel did. I would imagine that would be the countback. And Brett Bradbury a retirement, so too Bruce White and Mark McNamara. Wow-wee. Stephen Bull, we know you're a versatile operator. We know that you bring some real serious pedigree to the table when it comes to these open wheel races. But what a way to arrive on the scene here for the Waste Options Formula 3 Championship tonight, mate, and bring undone what had been one of the more dominant starts to a season by two individuals that we've ever seen. The 219 teammates who aren't present at the moment, they're probably still cooling off. Let's be perfectly honest. Their third representative is here. We'll hear from Lockie Purvis in a moment. But you must not be able to believe your luck. The one track where they both highlighted might be a little bit of a stumbling block for them. You've pounced on that. You've broken 19's winning ways. They had 5 wins on the trot, round wins that was, between them coming into tonight. That's done. Back in victory lane for you, mate. Nicely driven.
Yeah, I didn't come into this thinking I was going to win it. I've been a bit crook the last few weeks, and only sort of after watching Nürburgring, I sort of got that energy and keenness to get in the car and have a drive. It's a bit of a last-minute decision to get in it, to the point where I didn't know where to brake for pit lane. I forgot how to launch the car and all that, but thankfully it didn't come undone from those. So yeah, I wasn't expecting to necessarily beat the 19 guys. I've been keeping an eye on the broadcast, and I've seen how dominant they've been. So to be with them at the start of the race was sort of caught me off guard a little, gave me a little hope, and it snowballed from there.
Well, mate, to be fair, to put it on the front row, that would have been the first vote of confidence, considering that when they've been on the grid together this season, they have locked out the front row, and by big margins. They also have checked out on the opening lap. Now, Carl's obviously come unstuck on the opening lap there. You've ended up maintaining second, and slowly but surely chipped away the deficit to Braden Sagassa. And then the difference was the zigging and zagging into pit lane. You zigged, they zagged, and the undercut, mate. 3/10 of a second quicker, Dan Yeaman was telling us, the transit from pit entry to pit exit, the cone to cone, and 0.08 of a second quicker on the jacks themselves. So you've ticked all the boxes there, and the undercut proved good. And then all of a sudden, the margin's a second, maybe 2 in your favour. The two teammates come together, and it's very clean, smooth, and uninterrupted sailing for you to the checkered flag from that point.
Yeah, I did want to get it done on track. I caught up to Aiden, I believe it was. I think about 3 laps left on the fuel. Came round about 2 laps to go. I had an opportunity. He defended it well and couldn't get past. And I sort of thought, I haven't done a pit entry. I don't know where I'm braking, and if I go the same lap as him, there's a bit of a risk I'm going to run up the back of him. And I knew that cooling off the tyres was going to help, so that sort of just made the decision for me. Go a lap early. Obviously, you risk putting yourself in traffic, and I did end up with a bit of traffic on that lap, having to go side by side at 130R to get round there. But I think the tow from that traffic probably outweighed the aero wash, and played out in my favour.
Now, this is the other point as well, mate. That outlap, A, faultless, and B, you mentioned the 2 key points. One, you were able to get the move done at 130R, brave and clean, but also the slipstream from that. I couldn't believe the benefit from the tow in these cars.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few points where I had a car, second back, and they didn't really gain on me. But when I got into the tow, I think it's probably lap 1, and got behind one of the guys. I didn't really want to start making moves. I wanted to break away from the rest of the guys behind and sort of just standing behind. And I had to lift a lot. It was, it was crazy how just being a few tenths inside that 1 second margin makes so much of a difference.
Now that you've got the fire in the belly back from watching a bit of the Nürburgring, mate, jumping in here, having a run. It's only the second time we've seen you this season. Third in the first round, now first. Will we hopefully see it on a bit more regular basis when Formula 3 rolls into town?
Hoping so. I'm usually pretty smashed after work, and I don't have a whole lot of time between work and jumping in, so it's sort of just how I feel at the time. And obviously no championship for me to fight for at the moment, but I'll come by and I'll definitely have at least one more before the end of the season, and just going to play it by ear.
Where exactly do you envisage that might be, mate? Let me rattle off some tracks here for you, and you might be able to give me some intel. Next week, one of the greats, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Canada. Then the Adelaide Street Circuit. So our next 2 sprint rounds and our final 2 sprint rounds are right there, ladies and gentlemen. Then we get stuck into 30 minutes around Long Beach, which we know goes all right in an IndyCar. And then Circuit Park Zandvoort for 45 minutes. Oh, God, that'll be a tough sell. With a 2 compulsory pit stop rule there as well. Thoughts on all of those?
I haven't raced Zandvoort in a good while. I used to hate the track in its old config, and then sort of as they've done the banked corners, I think it's become a lot more interesting, and F3 just kind of sounds like the right speed for that track. So I reckon I'll show up there and give that one a crack. And me and Adelaide aren't quite friends, so I might give that one a skip. And Long Beach sounds like a good time in these cars, so I might give that one a go as well.
And perfectly aligned as well, ladies and gentlemen. Just like the trip to Miami was, we go to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada, only hours after the Canadian Formula 1 Grand Prix. That is next Monday morning. That is live in all markets, 6 a.m. Eastern on Fox Sports. And, of course, before that, the Indy 500 on Stan. So a big Monday morning of open wheel racing next weekend. Let me ask you this as well, Stephen, because obviously your decision to pit a lap earlier than Braden Sagassa proved pivotal. But when you caught him, it wasn't easy to find your way through. Got to give credit to Braden for the way in which he was able to make that thing as wide as possible. His defence was very good while it lasted.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of that decision was me thinking, I'm not going to get past him. I've got one chance on the run out of 130R, and as you mentioned earlier with the slipstream, I was actually lifting a bit before 130 to try and get the run after it, instead of ending up side by side going through 130R. So it was high risk. I thought it would just be better to play the strategy game on that one, and it worked out.
All right, mate, very nicely done. Anywhere else we might have the pleasure of your company on a racetrack throughout the course of what's left of this season, or not?
Try to make the GT rounds, or the GTE and LB endurance round there. Been a bit of a struggle just with the health and not quite having the energy to do an endurance race at the moment, but been a bit better recently, so hopefully going to be in there a bit more often.
Hopefully things are coming good, permanently, long-term on the health front as well, mate. Anyone you would like to thank before we go and have a chat to Lockie Purvis?
Just the guys over at Rennsport as always. No sponsors, just a bit of a social club over there. So hello if you're watching, but all good.
Fairly good name for a social club, let's be perfectly honest. Well done, mate. Terrific performance, phenomenal. The winning run, we were unsure as to whether or not it was ever going to be undone for 1-9. It has been tonight, and there's a lot more pieces to the puzzle of that debrief than meets the eye. But well done to you. Great to see you back on the track, mate. Hoping for more of it. And as you say, you're keen for a few of the final 4 rounds of the season. So we can't wait to see what you bring to the table. Well played.
Thanks, guys.
Lockie Purvis, congratulations. Welcome to the podium. First time this season in Formula 3 and long overdue. But secondly, are you in here mainly to get away from the team debrief that's unfolding at the moment?
Oh man, yeah. Your moods are definitely down. It definitely sucks for the boys. It's a bit rough, and you never want to go into a teammate. So yeah, I decided to come chat with you for a bit.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. Just wait for the temperature to cool off a little bit there before you go back and have a chat. No, look, to be honest, I mean, we throw that in there because, it's good bait to throw, and it'll obviously generate a little bit of a laugh amongst those that can understand exactly the situation that you boys are in at the moment, because they've been there before, they've seen it all happen, right? But that's not the way you want to lose a race. It's not the way you want to lose a podium in Braden's case. I guess the only saving grace for them was that, well, Aiden did have one drop round up his sleeve coming into the round. He'd already burnt one back in round 2. And if you're going to have an off night, you may as well have it when you're not going to win the race. Hopefully that is it for the boys as far as blips in the road are concerned for this season. And somehow your teammate, we're firmly calling BS, by the way, and you can tell him we're standing by our statement last week. He said that Suzuka and him don't necessarily agree, and he wasn't sure how he was going to go on the pace front. And I said, I reckon you'll be in the top 2. And even with the mechanical meatball, the broken car, he's managed to come home in second. So we're firmly calling BS on that. Obviously, it's worse for Braden than it is for Aiden, mate. It's unlucky that it happened in the first place. But from your standpoint, let's focus on you and the positives of your drive tonight. Obviously, qualifying didn't necessarily go to plan, but you can't ask for much more than plus 10 in the race. So you'll get the most positions gained. You've got a podium finish for the first time this season. Am I right in saying? No, sorry. Were you 4th or 3rd there at the line? Sorry, Lockie? 4th. So it's a PB as far as the season is concerned. I reckon you've finished 4th previously once already, and it's plus 10, so it's bonus points. And pending what happens with the teammate incident there, because no doubt Race Control are going to have a look at it by the rules of the racing book that we play with, then there's an outside chance that you may end up inheriting 3rd in the first place. So all positives from your standpoint, but not the way you'd want to inherit a podium if that was to happen.
Yeah, definitely not. I hope it goes well for Aiden. It was a good drive, even though the incident, don't want to talk about it, but yeah, it was a good drive from the lad there. For me, qualifying, didn't really pan out the way I expected. I did a practice, and practice server was way different to quali server, so learning experience there, I guess. So yeah, I had to go through the field, made a mistake in pit stop. I was catching Adam Funslow for 3rd, and then made a mistake and unfortunately got 4th, but it's still good round for me.
That's the firstly, for the benefit of everybody tuning in at home, you already know this because you've already seen it. But for your benefit, Lockie, when you go back and have a look at the replay, I don't think we've seen so many rear wings disappear off race cars as what we've seen in the Formula 3s tonight in a single race. I mean, it's been a long while since it's happened, if that is the case. Usually, we normally have had a fairly clean run-of-the-mill with our Formula 3 offering so far this term. Tonight, the exception. But for you to have a clean run, to stay out of trouble, to be able to execute some overtaking opportunities on the circuit, even with the slip up in pit lane, and then be the beneficiary of Mark Heppel crashing early in the piece, another teammate. So 3 teammates, really happy to see the end of this one. To then have, obviously, Braden and Aiden's coming together, to have Bondi and Jaden Draper come together on the final line. Everything fell into your lap nicely there with the amount of incidents, and you to keep a clean set of heels. Sometimes you've got to ride that wave and buy a bit of good fortune, don't you?
Yeah, I was fully expecting to be the worst teammate tonight, and I ended up finishing the furthest ahead, apart from Aiden. So yeah, I guess just happens sometimes, racing incidents, it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
You mentioned the pit stop, mate. Would that be the difference? The muck up on pit lane, would that be firmly the difference between getting Adam Funslow and not?
I think so, yeah. I stopped like 10 meters too early again, so had to get back on the gas. I think I lost a couple seconds there. So yeah, I was getting up to the rear of him. I think I had a second gap, and then he's just come out and chopped me in the pits.
Indeed. Suzuka, from your standpoint, I mean, obviously qualifying aside, the pit stop aside, is it a racetrack that you were looking forward to when you saw it on this calendar or not?
50-50. It started to come to me. It's an alright track. It's not one of my favorites. It's not the worst. So yeah, it's right in the middle there.
I don't think it'll be one of the team's favourites, more generally speaking, after tonight either. But now, let's focus on the other point here. Last week you said to us that you were just going to go straight down the line and focus on 2 categories instead of 3, try and spread yourself a little less thinly. And so far, based on what we're seeing tonight, that's been a good call.
Yeah, less practice equals better for me. So,
what's next for you, buddy? I mean, next week, looking forward to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, then Adelaide, the final 2 sprint rounds of the season. Your thoughts on those in Formula 3?
Keen for Adelaide. I think it's going to be fun. So, I'll be there for that one.
At this point in time, by the way, I should ask my director-producer, because we haven't seen anything on the screen yet, and I'm a little bit worried. Have we got anyone interacting in the comment section tonight, sir, or have they all thrown in and weighed in on this or not?
That's a good question. The comment. I
have not seen a single.
Yeah, no, it should be working.
Okay. If anyone's tuning in, feel free to interact with the conversation. That's what it's there for.
It's apparently a quiet night tonight. There we go.
Very. There we go. There we go.
You've
Hello, Steve. Good on you, mate.
You've summoned them with those words.
Excellent. Lovely. Great to have you here, Steve. He's a regular. And one of our favourites as well. Good to have you in the house, mate. What's next for Lockie Purvis, please?
86s. So you'll see me there.
Excellent. And obviously a little bit of an awkward post-mortem in the team debrief channel in a few moments' time, obviously.
Yeah, wish me luck.
Well, if I were you, I'd just say, sorry, boys, the network's just had a glitch. I'm out for the night. Talk to you tomorrow. But anyway, enjoy. Rather you than me. Well done tonight, Lockie. Excellent work from you. Great performance. So much so that we really only got to mention you in a positive light. We were checking in from time to time. Oh, there's Lockie Purvis. He's up 4 spots. He's up 6 spots. Oh, Christ, he's up 10 spots. So, no, it was always good to be able to check in on you. There was a lot going on around you tonight, but sometimes when you fly under the radar like that, you reap the biggest reward. So well done to you. Who would you like to thank?
Just the 19 boys. You boys for putting the broadcast on, and my missus for watching.
Excellent. Well done to the crew at 19. Well done to the crew in the Purvis stable as well. Well done, mate. See you Wednesday.
See you, mate.
Very nicely done. Yep. Rather than me. And you know all too well what that's like as well, Dan Yeaman. Let's be perfectly honest. I don't, because I'm not but in any way, shape or form aligned with a team like that. But it's always a little bit more uncomfortable, isn't it, when those on-track accidents, whether they're intentional or not, when they occur, it's always a little bit uncomfortable in the team chat there afterwards. You know from experience, you've been over in Orbit Drop Bear, Logitech Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport now for amount of time, I should say. Sorry, I'm struggling with my words tonight. You've been over there for a good period of time. You know what it's all about. We feel for the 19 boys tonight, but at the end of the day, from a broadcast standpoint, a commentary standpoint, it does add yet another little ingredient into the mix, another bit of a talking point that we can go back towards and have a look at going forward as this season plays out.
Yes, the golden rule: never hit your own teammate, and when it gets broken, it makes for some rather awkward conversations, given that you generally have good accessibility to your own teammates, virtually speaking, at most points during the day and away from the racetrack.
Indeed. Oh boy. You'd love to be able to fly on the wall, but we don't have time to be so. We're out of here. We're off to Waste Options GT3 on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Monday night. It's night 1. Week 6, Term 2. It is terrific to have your company. Great to see Stephen Bull in victory lane, our third different race winner of the season, our first outside of the 1-9 stable. We're off to Sebring on the other side of this short break. Waste Options GT3, 60 minutes to the journey. We're bringing you the Pro Split. We'll have the results from the M and Pro M a little bit later on, and we're here with thanks to the great people at Waste Options, Trophy AI, merch.GSRC.inc, Flash Graphics, and Disruptive Labs. Dan Yeoman and I back with you on the other side of this. Stay with us. Very good evening once more, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world. The platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, and from Suzuka to Sebring we go, from the entree to the main course, from Formula 3 to GT3. It's the 3-night. It's the Open World Tin Top night. It's Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport, and it's launching into the second half of the 2026 season as far as this second term of 4 is concerned. And of course, this is season 25 on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. A great time to be in the booth. Can we just look back with great fond nostalgia as well with regards to how big a weekend it was of World Motorsport, ladies and gentlemen? And we are the continuation there of that. The Nürburgring 24, MotoGP, Alex Marquez. Oh, wow, what a shunt that was, and really unlucky. We wish him a speedy recovery. We know he's done some damage to his neck, unfortunately. We know that it was a chaotic sort of race around there at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It took an eternity to finish because we had 30-odd minutes worth of red flag delays. The Australian Karting Championship was in Ipswich, and it absolutely smashed down with rain. There's a common link here with rain. I'll come back to that in a moment. World Superbikes in Czechia. We had, of course, the Indy 500 qualifying the NASCAR All-Star race. And, of course, if you're a football fan, you had the FA Cup final. You got Premier League tomorrow morning. You've got also, of course, the continuation of the Indian Premier League if you're a cricket fan as well. So the big sport keeps rolling on. We're not too far away from State of Origin either. There's the state of play at the moment. The warm-up almost done. There is a reason for the warm-up, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come back to that in a moment. Eli Donaldson leads this championship by 6 points on Richard Mitchum. It's a Vermilion Esports 1-2. And on the back of last week's sprint round, where Donaldson was 3rd and 1st, Mitchum was 4th and 8th at Sandown. Matty Dench was 2nd and 2nd, but it was enough to win the round, win the night at the home of horsepower. Daniel Emmons, 495. Luke King, 398. 365 for Jason Wilkinson. Then Rodney Gollan, Paul Rogers, Derek Fitzgerald, Luke Page, and Sean Dorey made up the top 10. And as you can see there, only 4 different manufacturers in the top 10 at the moment. The Aston, the sole one down there in 10th. 3 Porsches, 2 Mercs, and 4 Mustangs. Pro-Am being led by Matty Schmidt at the moment, 15 points on Sean Bonici, and then another 46 points back to Paul Wood. So 3 of our favourites here on the platforms of the GSRC. And then Dane Snadden, Brad Coates, Jordan Pianozola, Neil De Bruin, Joel and Hansen, David Basenthorn, Weggett make up the top 10. What have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different manufacturers in the top 6, if you don't mind. Lambo, McLaren, Merc, Ferrari, Porsche, and Aston. So no double ups in the top 10 there. And very quickly to the AM split here, ladies and gentlemen. Dale Sharp on top. So in that top 10 at the moment there, you've got a Lambo just outside, but you've got Chev, McLaren, Porsche, Audi, Ford, Aston, all in the top 10 at the moment. So that's 6 again in the top 10 as far as manufacturers are concerned. Dale Sharp leading the way, 70 points on Luke Wegener. Alan McDonald, 404. Logan Griffin, 384. And Todd Suter, 381. 1 point clear of Tim Watson, and only 8 back to Tristan Koch. 103 points covers the top 7 at the moment. Tight race in that championship. Here at Sebring, we are getting ready for Waste Options GT3 Pro. Now, there was a 5-minute warm-up to suggest that there is weather in the forecast, but at the moment it looks fine and dry. But that thick black cloud to the top left-hand side of your screen, hovering overhead, that's the lurking, looming threat. Whether we get any precipitation tonight, whether or not this becomes a transitional wet, dry to wet race and therefore a tyre change along the way, remains to be seen. 1 o'clock local server time, which is the east coast of America, 17 km/h winds, 30 degrees the ambient, 43 on track, dry conditions, 63% humidity. Those winds are easterly, if you don't mind, northeast. James Scott on pole position. Eli Donaldson, Richard Mitchum, Matty Dench all there. Have a look back further through the field, ladies and gentlemen. They're not mucking around here. They're going to get this race underway. We have a field of 27 lining up tonight, although make it 26 because Andrew Neil is not lining up. James Scott and also Bo Cubis in no mad rush here, ladies and gentlemen. They get the green flag. They go racing very quickly at Sebring in Florida. They weren't keen to sit around and wait. They weren't mucking around. Foot to the floor. Let's go. Great to see James Scott now trying his hand at GT3 racing on the back of recent performances in supercars. on these platforms. Let's just hope that he's read the regs this time around, though, Dan Yeaman, and remembers that there are 2 compulsory pit stops to the race.
As I'll actually make sure I'm actually unmuted and talking to the broadcast. With live race control on hand this evening, Zach, that should hopefully not be an issue, as that, I do recall hearing whilst you were talking about pre-race stuff, was verbalised as part of the pre-race instructions.
Daniel Piper's joined the race from pit lane. Daniel Cheney's about to, and Bo Cuba started on pit lane as well. They're all starting on dries. Surprise, surprise. The question is, oh no, trouble and gone. There goes Sean Dory. The Canadian is on a wild ride.
And he's just crunched the back of his car for good measure.
Revolution E-Racing here to cheer on James Scott and Johnny Bannock. Good to see him up at the Motorsport. Liam Amos and Jacob McIntyre also being cheered on by the Miller Motorsport stable. James McKnight ensures that there's more than 1 Ferrari, more than 2 Ferraris on the track, ladies and gentlemen. You've got Ferrari, Merc, Porsche, Ford, all out there in the top 10 at the moment. Johnny in the Lambo, the sole flyer in the Lambo out there in 11th spot. Further back then, you have Alan Holderson flying the flag for BMW, so too Jaden Draper. You've got the Aston of Sean Dory. So what's that? 7 different manufacturers. It'd have to be a while since we've had that many in the GT3 Pro split. Round onto the main straight we go. Have you had a chance to have a look at the radar by any chance, Dan Yeaman? Let's have a look and see if we do have any rain on the way here. Just in case we've got something to keep an eye on. At the moment, no.
Yeah, unfortunately at this
Not
stage...
immediately. Oh, trouble at 1.
Who's that?
Nick Wood is down a spot, and who else has dropped down with him?
That's Andrew Neal coming out of the pits.
Joining the race a lap late.
A full lap down, yes.
Fashionably late. Hello, Neely. Nice to have you here, finally. Hopefully he's not running a lap late on Thursday night, otherwise our broadcast of the Porsches might be in a bit of trouble. Johnny the Big Lambo, love to see it. Yes, hello, Kurt Nommensen. Good to have you tuning in from the comments section on YouTube. Remember, we are live via Facebook and YouTube, folks. As we are 3 nights a week, 40 weeks a year. Platforms and Gentlemen Sim Racing Club. 205-568 for James Scott. Should point out as well, folks, I am broadcasting to you live from Cessnock this evening in New South Wales, Hunter Valley. Yes, I've only got 2 screens at my disposal. If anything sounds a little bit more different than normal, that'll hopefully explain it. Although I did initiate the process today for Mum and Dad to get them updated to the NBN fibre to the premises, because it's worked wonders for the broadcast at my end in Ipswich. Hopefully it'll do the same here, have the same effect in Cessnock. Here is James Scott for the Chiefs eSports team, ESC, and a magnificent start from him. Eli Donaldson going with him toe-to-toe. Matty Dench there in 3rd. But this game changes completely should precipitation enter the mix. They fan out across the back straight for the 2nd time. Big movers so far in this race. Probably an idea for me to actually go and have a look at the field in more detail, because I certainly didn't run through the grid in time there, ladies and gentlemen. We ran out of time because I should remember by now, it's only a 1-minute warm-up procedure after a 5-minute warm-up, unfortunately, and that is obviously an issue that everybody's got to be mindful of. They cannot afford to muck around. They've got to be ready to hit the gas and go. They can't be tinkering with setups for any more than 60 seconds there, or otherwise they get left behind. Harrison Den Brinker up 2 spots so far. Wayne Hewitt up 5, Johnny Bannock up 6 and already into the top 10. Bryce Young, a new name in the pro split in recent weeks, up 1 spot. James McKnight up 2. John Wright, Craig Bond, Alan Holgerson and Paul Rogers all up +3. And Jaden Draper up +5. Luke Page, Roddy Golan up +4. James McKnight was blinky billing there for a moment. Aidan Cale, well, that didn't go as planned. No, that did not go as planned, mate, unfortunately. Yes, well done to Stephen and Dick. However, mate, we are still firmly calling BS on the fact that you weren't going to fare well at Suzuka. Not the result you were hoping for, obviously, but you had the pace to finish in the top 3, and you crossed the line 2nd. So, yes, it might not have been an ideal in Braden, but at least your form, your pace that's been showcased throughout the course of the season, continued in the upward trajectory rather than, of course, going back a few steps. And Revolutionary Racing now just very quickly reaching for that teaspoon and grabbing some salt to rub into the wound. Have a look at that. Down onto the back straight we go. Daniel Evans there in 5th spot. And that James Scott is going all right. Absolutely is. Hello, Will Buchanan tuning in. He'll be back on deck on Wednesday in the Supercars, hopefully. 6 minutes gone here, 3 laps gone. 2:01.7 for Matty Detch last time through, but they're well off the pace being set by James Scott. 2:01.076, and Eli Donaldson there struggling to go with that as well. So it's a case of James Scott has arrived in GT3 land and has hit the ground running, Dan.
Whilst he's more known for his V8 execution applications, I should probably say more to the point.
Exploits, yep.
Yes, it certainly does not dissuade or diminish potential. Otherwise, even if we very rarely see it from James in league racing or otherwise major events. So, yeah, whilst it's not necessarily a guarantee, colour me not entirely unsurprised by this.
Not at all.
Ferrari. It's a bit hard to say the Ferrari looking good in general because we've got 3 Ferraris, himself, James McKnight and Bo Cubis, on track this evening. With the ever-changing fact that some cars are good at other tracks, maybe it's a case of the Ferrari is also not too bad of a car around here just to also help with that situation. It's not meant to take away from James' talent and skill, even if we don't always see that side of it.
And that's the thing as well. It's nice to see those guys flex their muscle elsewhere and showcase that they can do it outside of a supercar. They have got that versatile ability. We don't always see it. Some of the guys are, by their own admission, one-hit wonders, one-category wonders, but not Scotty. Clearly showcasing that he can bring it as good in GT3 as he can in other cars as well. What is also interesting, mate, and what is exciting to see, well, you'll like the fact that I don't feel like I have the pace at Montreal. Yeah, exactly. You are banned from saying that. That's exactly right, Aiden. We called B, I said it last week when you're talking about it, Suzuka. We're not buying it when you talk about Montreal either. Just going back to James Scott, so refreshing actually to see a Ferrari at the front of a GT3 Pro field. It's been a while.
Yeah, the ebb and flow of car bop, and the fact that probably add it to my list of things I'd love to see someday is a bop that's applied per track, not per season, so that we might actually have a case where the racing theory is a little tighter, and then you can actually have series where pick and stick actually feels, and even just like even like when you take it to official racing for your sports car ratings, that you're not going to be too disadvantaged by trying to be authentic and stick to a certain car or a certain season, and just also make it a little more interesting where it's going to come down to car characteristics outside of maybe just tiniest percentage points, whereas you can see it swing this current day and age of the per season VOP metrics.
Got a point of interest to raise with everybody a little bit later on. Now's not the right time to do it, but something else has come across my desk, and it's very similar to 2 other cases that I know of over the last couple of weeks. Vehicle theft. It seems to be fairly pertinent. Actually, this is the 4th case in the Southeast Queensland corridor at the moment, so I'll have more to say about that a little bit later on. A bit of an epidemic going on there at the moment, and you can only hope that the perpetrators of it are found and hurled over the coals. GT3 prop is probably the only thing that doesn't entice Kurt Nommensen to come and have a run here more regularly, and that's a fair point too. It can be a bit of a deterrent. We've seen it before. If it could be applied manually outside of what iRacing has preset, if it can be done per track, as Dan was saying, per club, via the way in which each server is set, then yeah, go for it. But obviously there are also some other hamstrings to what we can and can't do based on the leverage that iRacing gives us when it comes to server settings and other things. 2 minutes, 0.809 now for James Scott. The lead, 2.84. The good thing, I guess, the saving grace for Eli Donaldson is that he remains the best placed of those in championship contention, ahead of Matty Dench and Richard Mitchum. Denchi, there's a bit of a feeling of old about Denchi at the moment, the way in which he's enjoying his return to the platforms of the GSRC this season and slowly but surely surging back up the points table. And Andrew Neil, I can't help but wonder if that was a protest on his part, the fact that he's out there on that late. Maybe a protest to say, look, I don't have the pace to be in the pro split. I don't want to get in their road. Leave me out of it. I'm not sure. Maybe it was an extenuating circumstance that came up at his end between the warm-up and the race. Maybe it was a miscalculation on his part as to when the race server was officially getting underway. I don't know the full details of that yet, the extent of it, but we'll try and get to the bottom of it as night goes on. Interestingly, there are as well, Dan, I can see on your totem pole, already some pit stops underway, mate.
Yeah, so we have to obviously discard Andrew Neil, Daniel Piper, and Bo Cubis too. All three of them, as you said, taking pit lane starts. But we do have Jaden Draper, John Wright, who have taken stops in green flag conditions here to get the first of their two done early. Although my concern is with the way the fuel tanks end up being restricted here, I have to wait and see exactly how much time they can get out of the tank of fuel tonight in this session, because that might be a little early to make the sequence work. But now more cars. Cubis coming in for his first actual stop along with Jason Wilkinson. I might be mistaken in having concerns. 45% fuel tank.
Yeah.
Should be able to get close to half an hour on a tank of fuel. So yeah,
That adds up.
That works. That works out. This is just getting. This is taking an early stop to get clean air.
And the other thing as well is if they've had a look at the longer radar and they can get a clearer picture as to what chance they have of encountering any precipitation, then they might be able to count backwards from there and work out their strategy accordingly. Again, it does look as though there's a few darker clouds appearing. It is storm season in Florida. You saw that with Formula One in Miami a couple of weeks ago. But whether or not there's anything landing here, well, at the moment, it would appear not. Nothing in sight on that radar as you look at it live on your screen.
Need to give it
And
5
we are
minutes.
13 and a half minutes of racing gone.
Give you an update in about 5 minutes' time as to there is something I can see, but with the way I've got it cropped to fit that little graphic box, it doesn't show up for everyone there. So I'll
Give
get
me
back
a colour.
I'll get back to cyan blue.
Okay, so light. Yeah, copy.
Which is just cyan. So yes, unfortunately not particularly dramatic, and
No.
if the timeline is to be believed, it won't even arrive until practically at the checkered flag.
Copy. Well, that's unfortunate. But in saying that, I mean, if it was dark green or maroon even, I'd be a little bit more excited.
That would be a little terrifying if we hear
Wouldn't it?
maroon, because I believe that goes beyond the colour scale upon which I have as a
Yes.
reference. Yellow is already terrifying enough.
Well, that's right. You've driven in that, yes.
Can say from experience.
Yes. Eli Donaldson's under pressure here, mounting pressure from Matty Dench. Richard Mitchum's also not too far away. They're not catching Scotty, not tonight. He's just checked out, consistently clocking high 2-minute lap times now, sub 2:01. Class 1, as Ferrari strategists would say, says Ryan Jones. Oh, Jonesy's back in the house, watching on for the comments section tonight. He seriously, I felt sorry for him in Formula B last week, and even in the Porsches, he cannot buy any luck at the moment. He's a good peddler, but he cannot buy any luck. It's just been a season to ride off so far for Jonesy, so he's opted for the safety of the YouTube chat. Hello, mate. Good to have you on board. Hopefully you had an enjoyable trip over to Castle to Shaheen last weekend. And we're right on board with that. So Ferrari, 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, 5 in the top 10. And Johnny Banach sitting down there in the 9th spot at the moment. Best placed of the BMWs remains Alan Holgerson. Best placed of the Mercs is Eli Donaldson. Sean Dorey has gone to pit lane as the best placed of the Astons. That's the 7th and only other manufacturer on the grid yet. No Acura, no Audi, no Chev out there, and surprisingly, no McLaren. Oh, sorry, yes, no, Andrew Neil has now parked up, yes. So actually that would have given us 8, and did for the 6 laps that he was out there on the circuit. So no Acura, no Audi, and no McLaren. I find that extraordinary considering the big vibe that they had on McLaren somewhere during 2025. And we're 8 laps in to the hour tear around Sebring. 112th. Oh, Denchi wide at 1. He gathered it up. He's now vulnerable to Richard Mitchum, though. The interesting thing about all of this is we mentioned Sebring. We love racing here. It always produces some good action, some good drama, and some good positional battles. There are some people that avoid it like the plague. And then there are some in the real world who commit to 12 hours around here each and every March. And they are mad. Big week on the sporting calendar too, folks. Obviously, for motor racing fans, normally this would be Monaco week, but it's Montreal week this week for Canadian Formula One sprint racing, plus qualifying on Sunday. Race Monday, that's morning Eastern Standard Time, straight after the Indy 500 if all goes to plan. Although that being said, with the weather they've had it in Speedway, Indiana, where day 1 of qualifying was all wiped out, maybe the chance of going racing on Monday if the long-range forecast delivers a wet 500 Sunday. I wouldn't complain with regards to that, because there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to drive back from Grenfell Sunday night and be able to be awake and alert enough to watch the race at 2:30 Monday morning. James Scott leads here, Eli Donaldson, Matty Dench, Richard Mitchum. We've gone back to pick up Harrison Dembrinka ahead of Austin Edwards. So a couple of names that are new in these parts in recent weeks. And Daniel Edmonds is, of course, the one that Denbrinker is chasing at the moment. Wayne Hewitt under pressure from Johnny Banach, and we've got Wayne Hewitt on screen at the moment. So some good paddle packs there, Dan. A couple of guys have brought themselves some clear air and some hassle-free sort of driving time, by which I mean they're not worried about cars in front of them or directly behind them. They're not engaged in battle right now. Here's Bryce Young down the inside. Always difficult. It's a tough sell at Sunset Boulevard, and Bryce Young holds 11th for the moment, chasing Nick Wood down the main straight.
Yeah, he tried the inside there. I thought he had a decent run coming up the Ormond straight away, but you get to the inside here for T1. Wood's not overly aggressive on the defense, and so the door is open there to cross, but no, doesn't finish the move. Pony's got some straight line horses. He's getting the power down early enough to be able to protect the spot. Now, dropping off the back of Johnny Banach as this fight continues, and you've got James McKnight there in that Castrol, Tom's inspired Ferrari. So there you go. Wood now has 3 drivers behind who want a piece of his pie. And he's got nothing really to work with on his defensive support in the form of draft, and he's in too deep at the hairpin.
Wide. Yeah. That'll bring him undone. He'll lose 2 spots there. He'll get back across and cover off Derek Fitzgerald, but through go McKnight and Young as well. So the floodgates finally burst at the seams. He did so well containing Wood, fought hard for half a lap to keep him at bay. Now loses out, has to reset, recalibrate and go again. James Scott, Eli Donaldson, Matty Dench, Richard Mitchum and Daniel Edmonds the top. So that's a Ferrari, a Merc, a Porsche, 2 Fords for those who are tuning in at home. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen there. Can't wait to see what sort of shade Sean Dorey's going to throw in from up there in North America, in Canada, when we catch up with him post-race. Won't be happy about how his night's played out so far. He's sitting down there a minute off the pace, having already completed one of his pit stops. Everyone down to 19th, yet to stop first time through. Down the back straight we go. The battles continue, including there between Wayne Hewitt and Johnny Banach. Banach is through on the inside. 8th. Can you get it done on the exit? You betcha you can. Nicely done, Johnny. Lambo continues its surge up through the order, and Nick Wood comes to pit lane. I've lost 2 spots. That'll do me. Good fight back on the inside. Bannock loses 8th. Again to Wayne Hewitt. Good battle emerging here. Bannock back down the inside for 3. Hewitt wide, that'll help. 2 wide, Wayne Hewitt not able to consolidate. Has to surrender and settle for 9th. Gets back around and covers off Bryce Young under pressure from James McKnight. Fitzgerald, James, Bond and Holgerson take us back to 15.
This pack reforms with Bannock at its head. Thanks to the scrapping now, Zach. So, what this is telling me is, yeah, we are coming up on towards the end of the fuel tank range, I'd say, because this is a lot more dicing for track position than I would think is necessarily optimal at this point in the race. If you weren't trying to position yourself to have a nice, sensible run into the pit lane, it might just give yourself the best position to hit your marks and dictate the tempo on your way in.
Just remind me too, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. Obviously, the absolute, how do I say it, at 9 o'clock in the evening without getting done for swearing, the buttholes of society that are doing the carjacking in Queensland at the moment. And secondly, I never got to finish hearing your opinion on whether it's Queensland, Victoria or New South Wales drivers that are at the forefront of the leaderboard for the worst in the country too. I'm interested to get your thoughts on that a little bit later on. Here's James McKnight in 11th. There might be a reason you stick to public transport, Dan Yeoman. I'm not sure. It might be because of the driving standard. James Scott, Eli Donaldson and Matty Dench, the top 3 here. We've passed third race distance at Sebring, 22.5 gone. And on the cusp, on the fringe of that pit window, that first round of pit stops will be completed in the next few laps as Kyle James and also Ronnie Golan make their way into pit lane to complete their first 2 stops for the night. We know that Daniel Piper still has a pit stop to complete here in all of that as well, considering that he started from pit lane. And as we've established on so many previous occasions, you cannot, ladies and gentlemen, constitute a pit lane start as a compulsory pit stop completion.
No, this inclusion, I can't say that I'm a well enough travelled person to be able to actually pitch in when it comes to other states' opinions. At least not in recent times, and actually with enough memory to commit to it.
Oh no.
That's why we've lost him from the race start.
We're wondering what the hell had gone on there. And we've lost him a second time as well. On lap 7, he parked up and said, I've had enough. Get me out of here. Andrew Neil. So another technical issue, which are the mechanical problems of the sim world, ladies and gentlemen. The mechanical failure of the sim world is always technical related. And that is unlucky for Andrew Neil. We laughed because we were sitting here, mate, wondering, speculating what the hell's going on. Is he just out there in protest saying, I'm not sure I need to be out there in amongst the thick of the action and I'm just going to let them have at it and poke around at the back? No, certainly not the case. It was very much technical. James Scott to pit lane. He hasn't forgotten about the compulsory pit stops this week. He's in there now, and that's the first of 2 for him for the night. Eli Donaldson, Matt Dench, Richard Mitchell, Daniel Edmonds and Harrison Denbrick in the top 5. And I guess now, Dan Yeoman, by the way in which, as we see a flurry of them, actually, Hewitt, Fitzgerald, McKnight, Bond, Holgerson and Rogers all in as well. Second time was out of anger. Yep, I get that. Rage quit. I'm all for it. We won't ask you about it on Thursday either, Andrew. I promise. Unless you bring it up. If you feed me the line of conversation and I take the bait, then I can't be blamed for that. I'm just working with the material you're sending down the line. However, in saying all of that, first round of pit stops, and I would hazard a guess now there, Dan, based purely on nothing more than the timing of the stops and the fact that there's still 35 minutes on the clock, then we're not going to have that discussion about who has fulfilled and who hasn't fulfilled those two stop obligations, it's a foregone conclusion.
Well, it looks like the minimum is going to be about 25 minutes on a tank of fuel. If you're absolutely knuckle dragging it out, or wringing your neck out of your car, I think is the word I use. Whereas for some of these drivers here, they might sneak an extra lap. Now the other thing it looks like for Scott, he's gone for filled the car back up, taking a set of tyres. That will have cost him a couple of seconds in the pit box. The tyre change being longer than the refill committed in his Ferrari. So if there's any shenanigans afoot from these drivers, they might be able to get some track position with a bit of a different tyre play. But at the same time, with the conditions being still dry and a little bit like this, 49 degrees Celsius track temperature in particular of note there, expect these drivers probably to then be taking tyres as well to save their tyres from melting away. At the very least in this second half of the race.
And still the chance of a little bit of precipitation at the wrong end of the night to make it spicy. In come Eli Donaldson, Matt Dench, Richard Mitchum, and Daniel Edmonds, Harrison Den Brinker, Austin Edwards, and Johnny Bannack, and Bryce Young, if you don't mind. And maybe Luke Page as well.
No tyres for Donaldson, Dench, or Mitchum. They're looking to jump Scott here in the pit stops.
Indeed.
And
out they go.
They will with that.
Absolutely, that's a magnificent stop. 22.02 seconds for Scotty. And the rest of them have gone 11, 12 and 13. Committing to an earlier stop second time through. Edmonds does no such thing and still comes out in behind James Scott. Richard Mitchum, Matty Dench and Eli Donaldson have gone for track position. Interesting gamble, interesting call. I'll be interested even more so, Dan, at the end of this to get their thoughts on tyre wear, because now obviously varying strategies at play, working with varying levels of grip and tyre and a tyre life. Bodes well for good conversation at the end of the night. We'll also have the results, hopefully, from the Pros AM split and the AM split as well, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 8th race of the campaign. Waste Options GT3 across Facebook and YouTube for this Monday night, the 18th of May 2026. Great to have your company wherever you're tuning in. Live, exclusive and free. Donaldson leads from Dench, Mitchum and Scott. So still 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. And as you can see there, that's a very, very vast array of differing lap times. Take Jaden Draper out of it, having stopped on lap 3. He's due for a big fuel drop very, very shortly, I would imagine.
He would need to get, to make this strategy work, he'd need to somehow find take another 3 or 4 laps to be even with a chance of making this cycle work for him. So I don't think it will, unless he's doing a lot of lifting around. He's up the back of Daniel Edmonds. Just listen to his car here from around and see what we get from the BMW. Short shift and coast. So he's looking to try and stretch us, but I reckon he's a little early and asking a lot of his fuel tank here.
Down the main straight. Draper, of course, the best place to the BMWs momentarily. Johnny Bannack on the fringe of the top 10, still in the only Lambo in the field. But Eli Donaldson finds his way back to the front. For how long, we're not sure. Because the margin in pit stops between Eli Donaldson and James Scott, it was 11 less seconds for Eli, but the margin back to him is only 7.5. That doesn't quite add up, does it? Dorian Bond putting 2 wheels in the dirt apiece. But they press on. Good support coming in from Jordan Dakin, of course, for Jaden Draper. He's been in the thick of it tonight, hasn't he? An unfortunate end to his aspirations in the Formula 3 race. And Bobby Camo tuning in as well. Yes, we're very well, mate. Good to have you on board. We're not suffering from the threat of an epileptic seizure like we were this time last Monday night. Oh, sorry, wait, did I go there on air? Yes, I did. No apologies for doing so. Eli Donaldson, Matty Dents, Richard Mitchum, James Scott, Daniel Edmonds, Jaden Draper and Bo Cubis. The top 7. And on that subject, Dan, I can't help but realise that even with the carnage that we saw and the crashes and incidents and whatever else in Formula 3, that it has been a much milder Monday night in the booth than what it was this time last week. Things were fairly hot and spicy.
Yes, yeah, it's the slight tameness, as it were, as this race is trying to build to its conclusion more gradually. I can actually now show you what I was talking about in terms of cyan earlier. It's now actually present for you guys. As you can see, still a long way away from the circuit. Although, it might be here in about 12 minutes time now. Might.
Now, that would put us in a very interesting predicament. That would put us in a very interesting predicament because that would mean that we'd have 17 minutes to try and get through. And then it would be a gamble as to how late you can stay out, whether you're going to have to come in at some point, sacrifice some time, grab some wets, or whether you just, make do with it, live and die by the sword. I mean, to be fair, the track temperature isn't going to diminish that quickly. And everyone's going to be in the same boat. Maybe drive to the conditions, Dan, because I'm not sure that with the temperature that we've got and the fact that it's only light, I'm not sure that crossover is going to come quick enough to have an impact that would benefit anybody to take the plunge, knowing the significant invoice that comes with that, to change over to the groove time.
You know, with these conditions, I can guarantee you the level of rain I'm seeing on the radar. And as you know, the critical thing being both air temperature is high, but track temperature is significantly higher than ambient at this point in time as well. But yes, the optimum strategy is going to be, at this point, you need to just soldier on your slicks. Yes, back it off a fraction, the track will get greasy on you, but it certainly will not cross over to wet weather running. I got to watch a similar kind of experience last Thursday night elsewhere, where there was a sprinkling of rain, and even there the conditions were a lot colder, so it could have threatened to cross over, but even after about 15 minutes of cyan light rain, it didn't get wet enough for drivers who saw that, went to the wet tyres, to actually make up time. They actually were still slower every lap of that race than drivers who stuck it out in slick tyres.
Interesting times ahead, and as I say that, the rain is just slowly but surely intensifying on the roof, on the pergola, and I can hear it tumbling down, trickling down this Monday night out here in beautiful New South Wales Hunter Valley country. Down on the inside, Austin Edwards has lost out on 8th spot there to Nick Wood. Good recovery from Wood, and Edwards now under pressure from Johnny Bannack. So Bannack back inside the top 10. Sean Dory to pit lane to complete his second stop of the night, so he reckons he's firmly in the window there with only 26 minutes to run. Based on the numbers we're crunching here, 29 laps is looking about where we're heading, give or take. And of course, any time lost to track deterioration, by which I mean any laps in which the driver's going a little bit slower in certain parts because they've got to drive to the conditions. Whoa, Nick Wood and Edwards, they rub panels, they bang doors, and to the middle of that battle now goes Johnny Bannack, wedging his way through on the inside in the Lambo. 2 for the price of 1. Why not, Johnny? Go for it, son. That's Edwards on his outside. They're coming up to the left-hander. Edwards is going to hold on here. Look at Wood trying to push through. Bannack's there, hanging tough for the inside. And for position number 8. Real good stuff. Gloves off, spicy racing now. They're having at it. They're not content with this whole idea of processional racing, follow the leader. They can't afford to be. We're too far into the fight now. Bannack goes up into 8. +8 for him tonight. Really good drive to this point. Leader remains Donaldson from Dench and Mitchum, but James Scott is closing the gap. He's only 1.8 off Mitchum. He's only 5.5 off Eli Donaldson. We're talking about rain. Yeah, anytime we lose through lap times being slower because of track deterioration, because of the onset of rain or whatever the case may be, will not help our cause of getting a 29th lap, a 30th lap in here. 2 transits of pit lane, long pit lane, all those other ingredients, probably looking good for 29 laps, no change tonight. And looking at where we are on the clock, next time by the line we're going to have, I would say 11 to go. Who knows, we could. But if that rain does arrive and start to rattle the cage, and so be it. You know, we could well go 1 lap less. If we go 30, we're looking at, 180 kilometres neat for the race. Just slightly under that, of course, if we don't get that 30th lap in. And I should also point out too, folks, that every time we come to Sebring, we have this discussion about lap times and what it means for overall race distance. The problem we've got is there's about 3 seconds difference between a Porsche Cup car around here and GT3, and then the supercars are a few seconds slower even again. So Sebring International Raceway, I don't know why iRacing has it measured out at just under 6 kilometres, because everything else I've seen point towards it being 6.019 kilometres. So as I say, if we go 30 laps, 180 with a little bit on top. 37 minutes gone. We've just started lap 19. So again, 23 minutes, transit a pit lane, the fact that it's not a neat 2-minute lap time. Yeah, it's touch and go. But I think, yes, we're probably looking good for... And of course, that threat of rain and time drop-off, we're looking good for 29. Oh, in comes John Wright and Wayne Hewitt as well for their final stop. I suspect their final stop. There'd be something untoward going on if it's not their final stop now, Dan. They're well and truly in the window with 22 1/4 to go. Yeah, now at this point where you've got the drivers who have either taken a short fill or they went in early their first stop. Now paying that service here at this 20-odd minute mark. The main thing is, as I said, just James Scott continuing to absolutely beat the drum here tonight when it comes to per lap pace. Past the top 4 by a country mile. So the question is this because the tyres now are back in the zone for him? The thing is, though, I was just showing the difference between Donaldson and Scott. I'll bring it back up on screen again just to show you the laps. Now, Donaldson versus Scott out lap versus an in lap. Pardon me, sorry. Donaldson's out lap versus James Scott's sort of like first flying laps. That's why the 20-second delta. But then all of a sudden, the entire stint that you can see from Scott just continuing to absolutely hammer these guys in front on per lap pace. Has not let up. And Richard Mitchum here currently doing 202s in his Mustang, and he's no challenge. Mr. Scott. As a result. Donaldson there, go to the pit lane. Speaking of. There you go, right on cue. With what we anticipate will be 10 laps to go. And this will be a significantly longer stop. Richard Mitchum's already been passed by James Scott. Matty Dench the next target. So it's clear based on the numbers we're seeing that it's a race for second at the moment, unless James Scott slips up at any point, but I mean, he's been near on faultless so far, hasn't he? So the only thing that could potentially trip him up, Dan, would be if that weather's got a little bit more in it than the radar suggests and he trips up on some moisture, or if he gets caught up with lap traffic or as an innocent bystander. All those, little 1%ers that play their part in motor racing from time to time. Cubis, Fitzgerald, McKnight and Dolan all through the pits that time round.
Now, Eli's stop here, too short to cover 4 tyres. Might be able to sneak 2 on the car if he thought there was a benefit. And it does look a little unstable there at some point. So I think whilst I can't go back and verify, whilst we're watching along live here, Donaldson may indeed have opted to, yeah, that short fill covers us. Yeah, that's struggling to pull up. That's got to be 2 new tyres on one side of the car, I would presume. Gives himself some grip through the fastest corners. And now there's Zach working the car to try and get a bit of extra action into that side. And I wouldn't be too surprised if it was fresh left side tyres with the way the car is struggling to make the right-hand turns.
Yep. Life's really difficult for Eli Donaldson this time through. Paul Rogers, the next threat for him. Oh, here we go. Sammy Cullen. There we go. Has got some temporary infrastructure at his disposal for the next couple of weeks until the new wheel turns up. So big thanks to Greg for making that happen. Big thanks to Sammy Cullen for letting us know. That means we'll hopefully see Sammy back out on the track sooner rather than later as he awaits the arrival of the new gear. And then Will Buchanan just throwing a little bit of shade where he needs to, reminding James Scott that yes, there are 2 compulsory pit stops this time around. Yes, we reckon he's firmly across that bit of small detail this time through. Thank you, Will. Considering that he's already completed the first stop, did that on lap 12, I should say. That we don't see there's any conceivable way in which you can get the little checkered flag on lap 29 or 30, whichever way it leans, without another transit of the lane. So we should be good this time through. Just going back to Sam Cullen's point, I guess the only downside to that for Sammy is he's got to get himself acquainted with another rig setup, a bit more on the technical side of things, because that's always a teething process, learning the gear, getting it all set up. Then he's got to unplug it again, reset it again, recalibrate again. So that'll be a small mercy for the fact that he'll actually be back out on the track for an extra couple of weeks than expected. So that's good news, mate. We're looking forward to having you out there too. 17.5 minutes to go here. Matty Dench the leader by 2.7, but James Scott slowly nipping away at that.
So 11 plus 17 or 12 plus 17 for Donaldson. So 25 or 29 seconds of total fuel required. It's just $1 million question over James's final stop. Will it be able to be an 8 to 9 second stop? Because if it is, then that means he hasn't had to leave fuel sitting around whilst the car was taking the service. Otherwise, Denchy and co will try and beat him by having the short stops. Dench and Mitchum in this time by.
So there we go. That answers the question. We're on the cusp at the end of the second round of pit stops. Quite a few still to come, actually. I mean, you look down to Daniel Piper. He's got another one up his sleeve. So Bo Cubis is probably the first in the running order there that we can pick up that has completed that second round apart from Eli Donaldson. So Eli Donaldson in 12th outright is about to leapfrog Richard Mitchum, Harrison Denbrinker, Johnny Banach and Nick Wood, and potentially Matt Dench that time around. 17.47 for Eli Donaldson. And Revolution E-Racing, yeah, I forgot to remind him of that. It was in the pre-race briefing, Greg. Don't worry about that. Can we just, by the way, bring up, do we have any access to, I know you brought it up during Formula 3, Dan, the transit times, line to line, pit entry to pit exit? Because it is a long transit here at Sebring. Yeah, look at that, 52. So with James Scott, that 22 seconds, that's a 30-second transit. Hence why I'm thinking that this race goes one lap shy of 30. Because it is, you lose a minute easy on the pit lane, and that's before you even stop. We know that Daniel Edmonds has got a short stop ahead of him. Bryce Young has a short stop ahead of him, but everybody else has a slightly longer stop by virtue of the fact that they went short first time through. And you can tell there, anything that's not around that 52-second marker is the people that have gone shorter. I mean, Daniel Edmonds 22.22. James Scott 22.02. The only two of the leading trio, or partnership, I should say, that went long first time through. Dench, 6th at the moment, under pressure from Bond, yet to stop. So this is not a battle for position in the slightest. But Bondi will enjoy the experience of following the 13-time champ through onto the back straight. Try to keep you honest as well. Watch this. No fear factor for Bondi. Right up the tail of Matty Dench right now down the back straight. 15 minutes to go. Make it 14 at the line and make it probably 7 laps. James Scott continues on. Daniel Evans continues on. Matty Dench has already stopped that second time through. In comes Kyle James to do the same. Bondi's running long. Paul Rogers, Luke Page yet to stop a second time. So too Daniel Piper. Everybody else is good. Good recovery from Bo Cubis, I thought, despite qualifying on the front row after a pit lane start to get himself back to 14th. It's been a good job, good salvage effort so far. My question is, can we have a look at when the race ends, Dan? It's not an immediate issue that we need to get to the bottom of ASAP, but just out of curiosity, Cubis, I'm wondering, I know it says that he started the race via pit lane. I'm wondering if he went there on the actual formation part of that lap, or whether he actually just sat in the box whilst everybody else formed up on the back straight, because obviously there was a lot of data and a lot of everything else being relayed at that time, and I just did not cite it. So we might go back and have a look at that at the end. James Scott, in the meanwhile, leads by 13.7 seconds. That is on those 3 drivers behind him, Edmonds, Young and Holgerson. Another, Young and Holgerson are 20 seconds off Edmonds. That's before we even get to the guys that have stopped a second time, like Denchi. And that margin to Dench is 34.46. And Denchi has come out well ahead of Mitchum and Donaldson. Take note of that too. Denchi out ahead of Mitchum and Donaldson, and to the tune of 6 and 7 seconds respectively. So that unfortunate gamble for Donaldson with the tyres hasn't worked, and he's behind his teammate Richard Mitchum as a result.
Yeah, no,
Lap 24 and still no rain, Dan.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I didn't get a chance to really get raked on into, unfortunately. 145 in Sin came and went, and the radar, the weather timeline update confirms what the radar was now showing, is that this rain is going to arrive at the death of the race, and so is not looking like it'll play its part. The rain probability at 2 o'clock in Simmers has ramped up to over 60%, but fat load of good that'll do us, because we're seeing the white flag by that time.
And that's the point too. It could wreak havoc on the cooldown lap, but you actually want to wreak havoc in the race server rather than post. But those that don't like wet weather, or the combo of wet weather and Sebring, will be breathing a sigh of relief. That there is no doubt. 48 and a half minutes gone here, 11 and a half minutes to go. James Scott still to stop. So too Daniel Evans and Alan Holgerson and Craig Bond. And also Luke Page as far as the top 10 is concerned. In and out comes Daniel Piper. So only the 5 stops to come. We mentioned Andrew Neil earlier. He remains the only retiree of the race. Despite Jaden... right. There you go. Something else that I didn't pick up on. Jaden Draper got held for a stop and hold on his second stop. 59.20 seconds. And that second stop was on lap 15. He's a minute 47 off the pace. He's not going to go a lap down if he maintains his pace, but he'd have to get 14 laps out of the tank to get home, based on a lap 15 stop. Is James Scott heading for the pit lane this time by? Yes, he is. 11 minutes to go. Confirming what we probably already suspected, in that this is likely to be a 5-lap run to the line.
Now, whilst James Scott, this has been a radio call.
Oh no!
Lost
Edwards. Now, is he not happy about
something else
what triggered that pirouette?
Just rewind it.
Just as you say that and you do that, let me preface this by, down the inside, so it's the exit that's the problem. There might be a bit of hip and shoulder here, there is. Oh yeah, that's a serious bump. Oh no.
It's a Mustang hip charge.
The old shoulder drop. Oh no. What the hell? let me preface this as well by saying that if anyone is going to take us to overtime, as in to a 30th lap, when all the numbers that I've been trying to crunch have made me settle on 29 throughout the course of most of the night. But if anyone's going to take us over the top of that, it is the effective race leader, James Scott. Nobody else, only Scotty. And if that's the problem that everybody else is going to have to navigate or encounter, then keep an eye out for some coughing and spluttering on that final lap. The pace of Scott is just too good that I get the feeling that if he's going to come back towards the line, and we've got our eyes on him so that we can keep an eye on when he gets back to the line, because if that's anywhere around about the 8-minute marker, we're going to go an extra lap. If he can maintain the pace. And I get the nasty feeling that he is going to take us to 30, and everybody else is going to have to calculate for that. And if you've already done your stop, particularly the guys that stopped early, they could be sweating bullets at this particular point. There might be a little bit of clutching going on and saving going on the final lap just to avoid the inevitable extra invoice of transit down pit lane for a lap's worth of fuel. So Scott comes back to the line. There it is, 25. Yeah, we are going. It's the pace of James Scott, and the fact that he leads the race by 6 seconds on Matty Dench, nearly 7. It is firmly the pace of James Scott that, based on that, and the likelihood that he'll keep us in the 2 minutes or the 2:01s, based on that, Dan, race for one lap with about 10 seconds on the clock, maybe 5, and almost a complete 2 minutes of overtime.
It's almost now also the additional factor. This is essentially giving that drop of rain every little chance it can get to make things a little interesting out there. They might actually see some drops whilst they're still under racing conditions. But yes, as you said, there were 10 seconds to the minute when James crossed the line. Even if he backs off the 2:02s, that's enough to just to push them. And also the fact that Evans right now yet to stop is also taking this to what appears to be his extreme, which should be about now. He did 13 in the first instance, now lap 26. That also might also keep things ticking along here, getting close enough to the end of the race that it might push us into that window where we'll be given the 30 in part from this as well.
Yep. And Pagey will be the only one to stop after that. Based on what I'm seeing here, running 6th at the moment, up 19 spots in the Whiskey Business Racing Merc. He'll be the only one to stop after Daniel Edmonds to cleanse this field. Bang! In comes Daniel Edmonds. Solid run from the Mustang to this point. But with only an advantage of 15 seconds, he can say goodbye to leading the race. James Scott will tear around the final corner now, come to the main straight. Let's watch the time. Let's watch the clock where he is after this lap. 2 minutes, 8:09. He's fastest of the day so far. 2:01.8. But still good. Still good to take us to overtime based on that. So normally I'd be saying keep an eye out. Barney throws the white flag next time by. Sorry, no, not next time by. The lap after. At the end of 28, but it will be a full 3 laps. It'll be lap 29 before you see white. So, just like that, and it has happened before where the pace setters that have come in and flexed a bit of muscle around here, and James Scott has done this in the supercars previously as well. He did it in the supercars without stopping. He took the race an extra lap, but he's ticked the boxes here. He's met the requirements and obligations, and he's still going to take us an extra lap because Dench is 6.6 seconds back. So you watch where Scotty is when we get to the line, and Denchy, who has been the Dench mark of this club for the longest time when it comes to GT3 racing, not even he would have got to 30 without going in fully into overtime. And he's 7 seconds off the leader. That's the difference between the bingo card being exactly spot on and slightly out of luck. That's a clinical performance from James Scott. The only time he hasn't been at the head of this field has been when he's been transiting the lane. Slightly different strategy to those around him. It did allow Daniel Evans to lead the race for a couple of laps, but now James Scott is firmly in the box seat. 0.41 the margin between Mitchum and Donaldson, the battle between the two teammates to see who's going to accompany James Scott and Matty Dench onto the podium here. Daniel Edmonds is 5th. Harrison Dembrinka is 6th. Bo Cubis, good recovery, back into 7th in the Ferrari. Then Bryce Young, Nick Wood. You just saw Nick Wood on screen a few moments ago. Has been passed. Has Kyle James, who was 10th, by Craig Bond. Bondy back into the top 10. Jones and Holgerson in behind him. And Bondy's only 1.25 seconds away from Nick Wood. So the battle for positions 9 and 10 heating up. Bondy's got clear air on Kyle James. There's one BMW thrown into the mix there as they make their way around to commence the third last lap. Not too much happening beyond that in terms of on-track battles. James McKnight showing the lap down out of business. In fact, that looks like maybe packet loss for James McKnight, 25.16. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's well around outside the end of turn 1, the exit of turn 1. There it is there. On the run up to turn 2. So James McKnight's had a complete dropout. He's gone. Wayne Hewitt's on pit road, and I'm not sure why, because he went there by way of tow rope, I do believe. 4 minutes and 12 seconds he's been on the jacks. So Wayne Hewitt parked up, but if he stays there, Dan, he's ticked the requirements with regards to 75% race distance. So he knows the drill. He'll stay in the server. He'll bag the points. And obviously we've already heard from Mr. Neil with regards to the good old-fashioned rage quit. It's been a while since we've seen one. So 5 hours ago too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Courier Mail reporting emergency services had been called to a big pile-up south of Brisbane on the Pacific Motorway. 10-car pile-up, at least one person suffering serious injuries. That was on the back of a torrentially wet day in the alleged Sunshine State, and you can see why I say that now. On a day where we're also talking about carjackings in the region. So, yeah, all happening in the world of motoring in Queensland at the moment. There we go. White flag will fly, not this time by, next time by. James Scott has done enough to get us to 30 laps in this race. 2 minutes 1.7 that last time through. Margin to Dench is 7.6 seconds. Notice how I said 7.6. I'm glad it wasn't 6.7. I know people up me for the rent with that weird, stupid social media craze that's going on at the moment. Richard Mitchum, Eli Donaldson, and then Daniel Evans and Harrison Dembrinka. 4 different manufacturers in the top 10. 2 Ferraris, 2 Porsches, a Merc, and 5 Mustangs. Bondi has now got by Nick Wood as well. So the boy from Gun the Guy up to 9th. After it didn't end so well for him in Race Options Formula 3. Race Options GT3 faring much better. Actually, Bondi, no. Rodney Gollan, most positions going so far, but we need to confirm who set a time, who didn't. Sammy, any more of that crap, but I will have you banned from the chat thread. Thank you. Appreciate your input, though, to confirm what I was talking about. You were picking up what I was putting down. Rodney Gollan in 14th. Good drive through the field from the right sim racing driver, Dan Yeaman.
What I can see, qualifying time was indeed set by Golan, so
that'll be most positions gained. Yep.
Indeed eligible for that one there. And actually, I can see everyone who's is racing.
Yep. 10 positions gained for Bondi, 9 for Luke Page, 6 for Daniel Piper. They're the biggest, 8 for Alan Holgerson. They're the 5 biggest movers so far. Bondi, last lap board in the air, by the way, folks. Away we go for overtime. Thank you, Greg Brooks. Thank you, Will Buchanan. White flag in the air. Harrison Danbringer. This has been a nice drive from him as well. And the Mustang for Wild Ride to 6th. The other Wild Ride entry didn't have
He had too
as
much
much good fortune. That's right. That was Sean Dorey. But even he's managed to recover to 20th after that moment. And he's on the cusp of putting a bit of pressure on Jason Wilkinson for 19th on the final lap. Bondi trying to hold on to 9th. Nick Wood will try and do everything possible to bring that undone over the final 6.019. Scott, clinical, 7 seconds to the good. Managed to one-up Denchi tonight. Put on a clinic that's going to make everybody stand up and take notice. If we didn't already know what this bloke brought to the table as a supercar racer, now he's gone out and proven that it just doesn't apply to the supercars. It applies to just about anything he jumps right on the wheel of. And I hope he joins us for a chat post-race as well to get his insights on why he's been enticed to come and give the GT3 a bit of a sample. We'll take it. It's great to have him here. Great to have him part of the action. And it's great for these guys as well because as we watch Matty Dench go down the back straight, and James Scott will make his way to the final corner. The Chiefs ESC are going to be on top on the airfield in Florida at Sebring International Raceway. Nearly 2 minutes into overtime. James Scott and Ferrari, more to the point, back to the top of the summit. This time with Waste Options GT3. Second to Denchi. The Dench mark. Back on the podium, that is delightful to see. Richard Mitchum just in a photo edged out his teammate Eli Donaldson, 0.13 the margin there. 5th to Daniel Edmonds. 2 Mustangs, a Merc, a Porsche, and a Ferrari in the top 5. Harrison Denbrinker in for 6th. Bo Cubis, the second of the Ferraris, in 7th. Bryce Young, 8th. Craig Bond, Nick Wood. Provided that Bondi gets it out of this final corner cleanly. He's running a tight line to keep him at bay. There we go. Bondi, don't celebrate yet, son. Now you can. Across the line. I would have thought he would have been holding up on the line until he actually got across the... Anyway, well done to the boy from Gunner Guy. He held off Nick Wood, who rounded out the top 10 for entropy. Then Kyle Janes, Alan Holgerson, Johnny Bannack, Rodney Gollan came home 14th, most positions gained. Austin Edwards, Luke Page, Paul Rogers and John Wright, with Jason Wilkinson and Dan Piper making up the top 20. Not a bad recovery from a few of those boys, but we'll elaborate on that in just a moment. He wants to branch out. Revolution E-Racing loading him up with GT3 events. Good to see. We like it. We love it, in fact. And we're seeing more of it. Nice to see that James Scott's name's been added into the mix there. Good recovery, I thought, Dan, all things considered, from Johnny Bannack and who else? Bo Cubis was another one. A couple of these guys got caught up in incidents early on. Daniel Piper from a pit lane start to the 20th position. Also, I mean, Austin Edwards unlucky because at one point there he was battling up towards the top 10. In 15th, he's finished in the end. There's a couple of other good stories to pick apart in all of that. A couple of guys that fell by the wayside, and it was a case of what might have been. But really, as the last of the finishers comes around now, it is Daniel Cheney. Jaden Draper's finished a lap down. James McKnight, 4 laps down. And Wayne Hewitt, 5 laps down. James McKnight's just disappeared off the face of the planet. But everybody else done for the night. Fairly commanding performance from James Scott. Really good to see. He's going to join us for a chat, which I'm excited about. I'm looking forward to hearing from him. Bondi's here as well. We'll hear from him a little bit later on. He knows the drill because I got chastised for talking to him too long last Monday night. So we'll get back to you shortly, mate. Go and do everything else that you need to do. We'll come back to you. There's always tales of woe and fortune in amongst all of that, Dan. I think Eli Donaldson will be a little bit disappointed that he's lost out to both Denchi and Richard Mitchum, having controlled that battle for second so much of the early part of the race. But really, the bar has been raised, and it's been raised by Ferrari and the Chiefs.
It has tonight, yeah. I mean, nice if we could maybe hear from Eli briefly at the same time. I will admit, one of the things I'm hoping to do is sign off when it's appropriate to do so, because there was pizza was the thing I missed out. I was just saying to Zach off air beforehand that dinner came just as I was pressing the go live button, so that's been waiting for that one there. But yeah, 20 cars inside of a minute here after a full hour of racing, and go down to 23 cars finishing on the lead lap here tonight. Not too bad, all things considered.
Not too bad at all, as we say. There were a couple of moments there early in the piece. A couple of guys ended up starting from pit lane. A couple ran into incidents on the opening lap, but recovered well. Nowhere near as much carnage as what we saw in Formula 3 start, middle and end. Fairly tame by Sebring standards, but again, bar raised by James Scott. And to finish the point that I didn't finish before we went to the checkered flag moment there, folks, I love this for the category, Dan, before we hear from the race winner, and I'm looking forward to picking it apart with James. I love this from the standpoint of GT3, Waste Options GT3 on the platforms of the GSRC, because when Scotty comes in and does that, it raises the bar and everybody goes back to the drawing board. They're back now trying to work out, righto, what have we got to do? I mean, it's no shame. There's no shame and there's no disgrace in being beaten by one of the, form operators in the country, be it in supercars, but now, of course, branching out, as the boys have already alluded to. But now it just gives everybody added incentive to try and find that little bit extra. And the beneficiary of that ends up being us and the product at large, because everybody's going out looking for that extra 10th, that extra 100th, that extra little bit of an edge on their opponents to try and be exactly where Scotty is tonight.
Indeed. I think on that note, Zach, let's open up to the man who took this race by the win, and I'll let you have that chat to him to hear about his race.
I'll let you go and heat up some pizza whilst this post-race show is on if you're feeling a little bit peckish, and I don't blame you for doing so. The smell of that alone would make it very hard to focus on the task at hand if it was me, mate. So you go and enjoy that. Bondi's here as well. James Scott here. We'll have results hopefully from the AM split and the Pro Am split too very shortly, folks. James, great to have you in the booth, mate. Well done. I mean, clinical at Coda, albeit, slugged with an invoice for not completing the compulsory pit stop there in the supercar a couple of weeks ago. It was great to see you tear that to shreds, though. Obviously, communication a little bit better this time around. You knew you had 2 pit stops to complete during the course of the hour. You did that. My first question is, why the Ferrari? And the second comment I'll make is, well done. That was a clinical drive.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, helps when you read the rule book. That's for sure. But no, that was awesome fun, to be honest. It's been quite a long time since being in the GT3 class of cars, so that was great. Good to get out of the supercar and drive something with a bit of grip and downforce. So yeah, whilst I knew it was a 2-stopper, I had limited experience in this car, so I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of strategy. But when I come out sort of 10 seconds behind the lead after the first stop, I was like, oh, this could be bad. But yeah, no, it worked out good. And by just saying, I wasn't 100% sure what I was doing with this car and with this strategy. That's just sent a dagger through the heart of everybody else, mate, because the winning margin was 6.6 seconds in the end. So imagine what it's going to be like when you actually, tick all the boxes and have your head wrapped around it. The boys have been saying in the chat thread, mate, you're willing to branch out now and be more than just a supercar specialist. But it's an interesting thing because I'm noticing that more and more across the board, mate. From your own experience, can it become a little bit monotonous or tedious after a little bit while just focusing on the one car? Is that part of the incentive to go and branch out and try and be a bit more versatile? Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think, yeah, I've obviously driven the supercar for quite a while now, and this Gen 3 car, it's similar to what they're probably experiencing in Formula 1 at the moment. You can't really drive it on the edge. You sort of can, for one lap, but if you do that for a race, you're sort of pretty cooked. So, yeah, no, it was great. In this car, you can sort of hustle the thing every lap. So, look, I think purely from my perspective, no, that was probably the most fun I've had in a race all year. So, yeah, no, definitely want to do this a bit more. That's for sure.
There's a couple of people that might be a little bit surprised by that because, I mean, really, there wasn't much racing going on per se because you took off, you built a little bit of a buffer early, you kept building the buffer, and it looked like you were fairly lonely out there towards the end. But it is so different, isn't it, to what you normally do over in the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series with the Australian Sim Racing Group, where there's always someone to deal with, to contend with, lurking, whatever the case may be. You've really got to be switched on from go to woe there because there's always something happening. That looked like a little bit more of a relaxing sort of night in the cockpit.
Yeah, in one sense, absolutely. Obviously, not having cars around you does sort of help that little bit, but probably a little bit to my previous point. In the supercar, you can't really push all that much. So in terms the mental sort of when you got guys like cars around you is it can be draining over a long race. But the actual driving part's actually quite easy. But in this, it's I mean, obviously just purely based on tonight. The driving part was a lot more physical because you can, push a lot more. You're obviously going quite a lot faster in the supercar. So yeah, obviously that'll change once there's, I'm certainly not going to have it that easy every night. So my perspective might change a little bit when I do have some cars around me and whatever else. But regardless, that was awesome fun.
Indeed, it was. Okay, so you've branched out, you've ticked the box with GT3, you're still committed to the supercar, nothing changes there, obviously. I guess the only thing now is the juggling act in terms of being able to quite rightly dedicate the appropriate amount of time to each quest. Where else would you look to explore and branch out, mate? Because the great thing about the iRacing platform and the Australian Sim Racing Network at large as well is there's no shortage of options.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a balancing act though, right? If you want to, try and be fast at, 10 different cars, well, that's going to be quite difficult. But if you sort of keep yourself to sort of two or three, not to say that you can't be competitive in a bunch, but to be, running right at the front, probably got to limit yourself to two or maybe three types of cars. So, and obviously with the GT, like you got, 8 or something different cars that you can race in
11.
the class.
Yeah.
11, there you go.
Yeah.
Different cars that you can race in the class. So, that obviously keeps it quite interesting. But in terms of the time, I only joined the series about an hour or half an hour before practice went up, and that was my practice. So not much lead in, but yeah, luckily the car was good.
We were watching the radar closely, mate. It became very clear very early that the predicted weather forecast, that rain wasn't going to sweep through in time to make it spicy out there on the circuit. I'm going to come back to the cars in just a moment. From a weather standpoint, were you keeping an eye on that as well? And conversely, from an on-track standpoint, even without that weather having an impact, bloody hot. So tyre wear came into question. How did it fare for you from a tyre wear standpoint?
I got no benchmark to say was it good or bad compared to previous experience, but I don't think the tyre wear was all that bad. I mean, obviously compared to the supercar, it was nowhere near like that. So the rain, I was really praying that it didn't rain because I'd done absolutely I did no practice period, but the few laps that I did do, it was certainly not in the wet. It was on like a 60-degree track, so yeah, I was praying that it wasn't raining. I've never driven this kind of rain, so certainly hoping for that.
On the subject of having driven the car in the rain, you partly answered my other question there a few moments ago with regards to manufacturer choice, because yes, there's 11 of them, mate, very wide variety, very big range of cars to choose from here. But what drew you to the Ferrari specifically, and did you go and have a dabble in any of the other cars, thinking the Porsche, the Aston, the Ford, those that were around you in the contest tonight, the Merc even? Did you go and have a look at those, or were you hell-bent on the Ferrari from the outset?
I got no idea, man. I'm not really sure why I chose the Ferrari. Probably the last time I drove a GT car was maybe the Ferrari like 12 or 18 months ago. So yeah, I don't know. I just sort of went with that. It's at the top of the list of the cars that I own, so went for that.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got no idea if this is a good track for the Ferrari or not, but I mean, it can't have been too bad. But yeah, I know. Obviously, it's a bit of a lottery, I guess, with the calendar and what car that you pick, right? Like, you might be good at a few rounds, a bit average at a few rounds, just purely based on the car choice, which is obviously something that not used to. Obviously, with the almost feels like a fix-it-up series in the V8. So yeah, no, it's yeah, that was good, and it was good, like watching the relative and stuff where people, and when I was in that middle stint where I was catching up, you know, even though I was catching, they were still you know, I think there was a Ford and obviously Denchi in the Porsche, that they were, you know, still stronger in a few areas, even though overall I was gaining a little bit. So it was good to see.
Indeed. Matty Dench, finished second tonight, has slid into the booth. We'll hear from him in a moment. Then we'll get to Bondi. I don't want to keep you all night, mate, because my director-producer Dan Yeoman's got pizza standing by, and obviously the last couple of days I'm feeling a little bit fatigued as well with the trip to Cessnock and other things. But this is an interesting one because, you know, it's not often that someone that we so commonly associate with the supercars comes in here and rock and rolls as effortlessly as you did tonight. That was a magnificent debut. You know, it's a pick and stick format, so whether the Ferrari's the best thing in the shed or not remains to be seen over the course of the next 4 weeks. I might get Mr. Yeoman actually to show us the rest of the calendar for the benefit of everybody at home, because we do go back to sprint racing weeks 8 and 9, but we go to Magny Core next week for 60 minutes. That's the last of the 60-minute races of the season. Then St. Petersburg, which I think will be a beauty, considering it's the unknown entity. Then the Red Bull Ring for a sprint round as well. And then the Circuit de la Sarthe straight after the 24 wraps up. What's an extra 90 minutes, right? Your thoughts on those 4 circuits, mate? Not necessarily how the Ferrari will go there, but from your standpoint, if you're committed to doing more of this GT3 caper, how do you use the next 4 weeks, and how do you reckon you'll fare at those circuits with a view to setting yourself up for a proper season tilt when we come back in term 3?
Yeah, no, they sound like some pretty decent tracks. Magny Cores, you know, obviously quite widely used in the supercars, so I know that track quite well. St. Petersburg obviously is the real lottery. No idea. Don't even own the track, so that'll be interesting. Le Mans, did you say was the last one, or
last one? Yep, and Red Bull Ring in between for a sprint round.
Yeah, right, interesting. The Red Bull Ring, yeah, traditionally I've gone quite well there in the supercar, but obviously this thing's a bit of a different beast. But and then Le Mans, again, usually been quite a good track for me, although I'm not sure how the Ferrari's going to fare there. But that's all right. We'll do our best. It's probably the last 4 rounds. We'll just utilize as a bit of a driver tune-up session and get used to these cars again, and yeah, see what we can do.
Oh, we're looking forward to this. This is going to be a good little storyline to follow for the next 4 weeks. And from a point of curiosity, just how far up the championship leaderboard you climb in that time with a view to what might have been had you been here at the start. Brooksy and the Revolution E-Racing boys said that they've been in the air and now they're trying deliberately, intentionally to go out of their way to load you up with as many GT3 events as possible, mate. How are you enjoying the relationship there with the boys and obviously the intel that they've been able to provide you with, given that you've been so heavily immersed in supercars for a while, and this is now still this is still sort of like a period of trying to reacquaint yourself with something that you haven't been in behind the wheel of for a little while?
Yeah, no, they're great bunch of guys there. You know, obviously they do a wide variety of racing with supercar, but also, you know, a lot of GT, LMP type racing as well. So yeah, no, really enjoyed the relationship we got there. Obviously, still heavily associated with the Chiefs as well. But yeah, no, it's great to hang out with those guys and you know, do some races with them. It's yeah, it's good for a bit of a you know, more of a casual you know, environment rather than that full serious stuff that wears you out a fair bit. So yeah, they're great, and yeah, looking forward to see what we can do.
And of course, I guess it also highlights the importance of, yes, that step up into the Pro Series and the likes brings it with that added pressure and intensity as well. But to go back and do something where there's not as much scrutiny, there's not as much importance, but also, mate, from a standpoint of keeping you, the driver, match fit as well, it's just good to get some extra seat time and particularly race time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously a plethora of supercar series that go around, but yeah, it does get a little bit monotonous, if you could say the least, driving it day in, day out. So, and I think, driving this car, obviously you got a very different technique to the supercar, but it's good to sort of, when you jump between the two, sort of adapt your technique, and you might be able to learn a little bit from here that you can translate to the supercar and vice versa. So, yeah, no, even though they're very different, always something to learn.
The supercar series here, last time we saw you were the pace setter, rocking and rolling it at Coda. You've had a Pro Series round in between. Did we see you back in the supercar here Wednesday night?
Yeah, I'll try to be. Got a little bit of busy work schedule this week, but yeah, all going to plan. I'll be there. All
right, and we're very excited about that because week 6 supercar action is the first of 2 non-American rounds in the series for you, ladies and gentlemen. So we're looking forward to that immensely. Brands Hatch in the United Kingdom, probably a fair chance of seeing some precipitation with that, and Adam Lavis will be here to bring it to you with me on Wednesday night. Brands Hatch, the latest stop in the series. And if you want to see James in the Pro Series, of course, their next round, Mexico City, Wednesday, the 3rd of June. So that's 2 weeks' time. There is a Porsche Pro round in between from the Nürburgring. Mate, terrific to have you here. I know that's a longer chat than usual compared to what Rankin and Sandman normally offer up. So I appreciate you hanging around for that. I have got Bondi and Denchi to get to, and we've got championship points and other things as well, which we'll get to too. But great to have you here. Thanks for the intel. Thanks for putting on the show tonight out there. It was a pleasure to watch. A joy to commentate. Looking forward to more of that as the season goes on. Starting Magny-Core next week. Before you go, who would you like to thank?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, obviously all the guys at the Chiefs. Yeah, great to be able to have the versatility and jump around driving a few different cars. Mentioned them before, but the Revolutionary Racing guys as well. Thanks to those guys for getting me involved and yeah, up to speed in the GD. So that's awesome. You guys for the broadcast series admin. I know now this is my second, sort of series, with the GSRC league. So that really awesome what you guys put on. So well done on that. And yeah, looking forward to coming back for another few rounds. And well done for everyone else on the track. It was a pretty clean race from what I saw.
Cannot wait to see you back on the grid because obviously the next 4 weeks in the Ferrari, that's going to be well worth keeping an eye on. But then I can't wait to see what you do with the 2 weeks in between the 2 terms, term 2 and term 3, whether you go and have a dabble in something else and arrive back here in a new bit of kit for term 3, mate. At which point the battle for the championship has another contender anointing himself as a challenger. So exciting times ahead here on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, and a few people going back to the drawing board tonight to try and match what you brought to the table. So well done. Go and enjoy the spoils of victory. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks, fellas.
Great to catch up with James Scott and the Chiefs ESC, and great to see a Ferrari. It's been a while since we've seen a Ferrari on top of the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. My goodness gracious me. GT3 alive and well right here and now. And Denchi, as I go to you, good evening. I mean, you have been for the longest time here as the 13-time champion, and rightly so, known as the Denchmark. And yet there was absolutely nothing you would have been able to do to stop James Scott tonight. A flawless drive from you, however, to net second and see off the thread of both Mitchum and Eli Donaldson. So you ticked as many boxes as you could.
Yeah, I think the race coordinator threw a spanner in the works there yesterday and changed the weather forecast on me. So I had a set up for a pretty cool track, some wet weather racing, and it definitely didn't like the 50-degree track. The front tires were screaming, and yeah, we just kept tickling the ABS too much into a couple of the big braking zones, and yeah, we just kept understeering far too much. So yeah, we got to dial in the setup and just work on that braking a little bit more, and then I think we can maybe at least stick with James, I think.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it says a lot about the series, doesn't it? And it says a lot about the club in general that we still, 25 seasons on, mate, we marvelled in what you did there for 13 consecutive seasons, but to have another heavyweight, it adds some flavour, it adds some spice to it to have someone of his calibre on our grid.
Yeah, I've been on track a few times in a few races that James has been in, and he's always one of those front runners. He's always got great pace, so yeah, it'll be good to set your eyes on that and try and chase him down.
The spanner in the works thrown by the track conditions not being exactly what you thought they were going to be. That aside, are you enjoying the Porsche still? I mean, obviously, you were very quick to revert back to that after sampling for a very short period of time that Lamborghini. You look more comfortable in the Porsche.
Yeah, well, out of all the cars that I've driven, like I've always had the most laps in the Porsche. It's just always been my go-to car, and yeah, just looking overall in like official races and things like that, it is pretty good. I believe the Ferrari is right up there as well, so they're probably the two quickest cars at the moment. Yeah, so we just got to try and dial it in a bit more and try and behave with that brake pedal.
Indeed, you mentioned tyre wear and other things. Would that have been a contributing factor brought upon by the setup not being exactly where you needed it to be?
Yeah, it was just dialed in for like a wet, slippery track, which didn't translate to a dry track really. So yeah, we basically just took the wet setup, threw some dry tyres on there, and just clicked the diff up a little bit higher to try and get it to turn on throttle. But yeah, it just wasn't quite enough. So we'll have to try and hopefully the weather doesn't get changed on us and we can come in with a decent setup next time.
Magny Core is the next stop. I'll get your thoughts on that in just a moment. Obviously, nice to tick Sebring off. What's the best you can hope for, Denchi? Obviously, a bit of a written-off first part of the season. The conclusion at Fuji, of course, not ideal. That rubbed salt into your wound. The Lambo, of course, being the first bit that was already applied. What's the best you can hope for now? You got a round win last week. You got a second this week. What's the best you can hope for in 4 weeks' time when the checkered flag waves on this campaign?
So I'm thinking the championship's probably out the window with the endurance round that I got the one point in. That's the endurance rounds are just critical. You need to get good score in those, otherwise it's a losing battle really for the championship. So yeah, we'll just take the rest of the championship as a bit of a testing period, and yeah, we'll aim for the next one, I think. But we'll always try and run right up the front and see what we can do.
By the way, you weren't the only one to be tripped up by the pit lane at Fuji. Bondi wasn't a fan of it either. And unfortunately, that they seem to be your two Achilles heels, don't they, Denchi? Unfortunately, pit entry and pit exit, you've been tripped up by pit exit a couple of times over the course of the journey, but also sprint racing. But last week, sprint racing went fairly well for you.
Yeah, just like the overall has been pretty good. It's just yeah, like the old pit lane and no pit limiter. I've gone back to using the pit limiter for now until I get nice and comfortable again. And yeah, we're just trying to work on that consistency at the moment. So yeah.
Let me ask you this. This might be a bit more of a difficult question to answer, but compared to where you were before you had your enforced brake from regular GT3 competition and where you are now, are you feeling as though you're back in the sort of form that you're in when you strung those 13 championships together, or have you still got a little bit of room for improvement in your own mindset?
I think there's room for improvement. There's probably like half a second on the table, I reckon. And then it's just that consistency that you need to go with it as well. So
6 seconds is a big margin, but at the end of the day, you had 4 on the next car in the line there. Richard Mitchell, Eli Donaldson a little bit further back. Going to be a compelling battle between you three going forward. Next week, Magny-Cours, last of the 60-minute races. Your thoughts on that?
yeah, Magny-Cours should be pretty good. I believe the Porsche usually goes pretty decent across the curbs when you need to go aggressive on them. I don't remember how well the Ferrari does it, but I know that last little chicane, you basically like launching the car completely off the ground or through there. So we'll see how that goes.
You mentioned that rain not coming to fruition. Had the server been set 15 minutes further into the day, might have been a different story, Denchi. That could have spiced things up and kept you blokes on your toes.
If it was only rain for the last 15, I don't think it would have, like, no one would have stopped for wet tyres. The track was 50 degrees. So you'll run dry tyres for quite a while before the rain does anything, I think.
Could have still tripped somebody up, because Sebring has a habit of doing that. Let me ask you this. I know we're running short for time. We've got Bondi standing by. We'll get the points and all that in a moment too, folks. But let me ask you this. Last one before we say goodbye to you. We'll obviously let you do some thank yous as well. But St. Petersburg's only 2 weeks away. Have you had a chance to download the track and have a look at it yet?
I have not brought the track at all. I have no idea. It's a concrete one, is it, or what?
Yeah, Concrete Canyon. Yep, correct.
Yeah, no, that should be fun. I always loved the concrete canyons, so yeah, should be fun.
And it's a sprint round as well. And as we saw in the supercars there last week, overtaking does come at a premium, so it'll be gloves off competition in a couple of weeks' time. The Porsche's going well, you're going well. Do you look at what James has done in the Ferrari and think, oh, maybe I might have to have a little bit of a double in that between term 2 and term 3 with a view to what you're going to run in term 3 or not?
I've never been a fan of the Ferrari, just kind of how it drives. It doesn't really suit how I drive it, so yeah, I think the Porsche will probably be it. If it's still up there in the officials, then we'll probably run it again.
There's another big name player in town, but everybody in this club's got a bloody long way to climb before they're even in the territory of challenging your dominance for the longest period of time, mate. So you're safe at the top of the leaderboard for a long while yet, I would imagine. You've always been very good with your time, mate. We appreciate that. Who would you like to thank?
I would just thank the GSRC team for putting on the league and the broadcast, and making a great time for everyone after work.
Indeed. After work for most people, except for those of us that are in the booth. Looking forward to chilling with a cold one tonight and a bit of home and away once the broadcast is done, but we're not there yet. Denchi, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. When do we see you next, please? Is it next Monday night?
Yeah, it'll only be Monday nights, I believe. So.
Is that a time constraint thing, or is that a disdain for the 992.2?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't want to jump back into that pogo stick, but yeah, I think we'll just stick to one car until we get all of our stuff dialed in, and then we'll try and branch out a little bit.
Oh, very nicely done. Great to catch up with you as always, mate. We'll see you next Monday night. Go well.
All right, I'll see you soon.
We don't have anyone from Pro-Am or M with us for chat just yet, folks. If that changes, we'll let you know, but I don't think it's going to at this point. So that bodes well for Mr. Yeaman to have an appointment with his microwave pizza in the next short while. I'll get to Bondi in just a tick. Dan, just one comment from you with regards to GT3. Really spicy period now, because we're already talking about next term, with a view to what James Scott's bringing to the table already. That bodes well for excitement levels and interest and everything else between now and then. These next 6 weeks are going to be so worthy of keeping an eye on, with the view to what iRacing does with BOP updates, patch updates, all that sort of stuff from a technical side. And then I cannot wait. I'm sitting here with bated breath waiting for that calendar to drop to see what the makeup of the schedule is going to be, because that will, as Denchi has just alluded to, and so many before him have also said, sometimes the circuit selection does play a role in dictating what car of choice they go with. Exciting times ahead over the next 6 weeks, and it's hard to believe it's only 6 weeks away from Term 3 getting underway.
That's a good point, yes, indeed. That as much as it can be down to which car you drive well, you've got to be able to be in a car that you think is going to be competitive. So, yeah, we sit back, have to wait a little while longer, as you say, before, well, we say a little while longer, and yes, it's just 6 weeks. It's not that long either in the grand scheme of things. So it's all coming together in due course, and we await to find out, what the go is going to be with changes, revisions, refinements to the good old balance of performance to get everything sharpened up here as well. That is all left to be seen.
Indeed, very nicely done. C Bond, good evening to you. Second time we've conversed today. Let me ask you. I don't think I want to touch the Formula 3 or the barge pole, considering that it was all going so well until the final lap. But nice of you to be able to limp it home and get to the checkered flag, and that's great. And just letting Greg Brooks know via broadcast that I've just seen your message in Discord as well, mate. Come back to me at the end. Jump in the green room, and I'll have a quick chat to you off air. See if I can help you out there. Bondy, just going back to you. Yeah, I won't ask you about the last lap of Formula 3. Unlucky there. Saving grace is that you were able to limp it to the line, but again, a case of a result gone begging because the pace was there, but the luck eluded you. However, a very solid hit out in GT3, I thought, in the way in which you went from 19th to 9th and got by Nick Wood late in the piece to secure a top 9 finishing position. So talk us through the hour from your standpoint, please.
Yeah. F3 was good until I kind of lost all the progress I made on lap 1 by forgetting about dirty air and cold tires. So just understand lost like all positions I made up. Then got back up to 3rd or whatever, and then spun it on eggs, and I'm like, I'm this close to pit lane, I'm just gonna come in this lap. Which that honestly wrote off my night, but I was still on for a 5th place, and then I got used as a goddamn jump. And yeah, that pretty much wrote my night off and all points. So my championship's well and truly over in that series now.
Unlucky. Actually, we were actually just breathing a sigh of relief for you that with that spin you didn't then get slugged for an unsafe pit entry, because on some circuits you would have, the way you entered the pit lane there.
Yeah, I was shocked as well. Let's just go back to Fuji or whatever. That wasn't too great.
All right, talk to me about GT3, because obviously you had to very quickly put that in the rearview mirror and focus on GT3. Sebring isn't everybody's cup of tea, as we know, but at least you were able to get out there and show some good pace and push your way through the field and bag a pretty decent result, all things considered.
I'm happy with myself to firstly be able to put what occurred in F3 behind me and then go give this one a hard crack, and then the setup, well, jumped in and I chucked on the best setup I think I've ever done. Definitely would have preferred a bit more of a tweak to the front end. Well, did everything I could to the front end. I would have had to start playing with the rear to help get this thing to turn a bit more, but yeah, I was still happy with the setup, and it pretty much helped me for the rest of the night. Stuffed my last quali lap up at the final corner. I was up for, would have put me about 12th or something, and then just went wide and put me down in 19th, which if I started the race in 12th, I would have had better track position, which I reckon a easy top 10 probably could have done a bit better than 9th, might have been 8th or something a bit better. So that and tweak of the setup would have been nice, but still happy with a 9th. That felt like a win tonight.
And it's nice to end on a positive note. In fact, hey, your thoughts, because I've got to wrap it up here. Your thoughts on Magny Core, the next stop, the last of the 60-minute races, and the first of 2 stops in France in the space of 4 weeks.
Yeah, should be good. I'll just rock up and drive. I am here next Monday, I think.
Well, I hope
I've
so.
got a strong feeling I've got something on. I've got something on, I feel like, but I don't know if I'm right.
Oh God.
I hope I'm here. I should be here.
You know that thing you've got that's called a mobile phone? It has a calendar in it. You might need to do what I do and actually start using
Start
that.
using it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a heaven send. I've done it in the last couple of years, and it's been a heaven send. Very nicely done. When else do we see you this week, please?
Every night. I don't have any karting on this week, so I'm back on Friday.
And how'd the racing go in the battle for the honours at the Mayor of Albury Trophy over the course of the weekend, please? I know that wasn't the actual name of the event, but I'm more referring to Brad Jones.
Not complaining too much. Dad probably still hates me after practice 2 on Sunday, but we can ignore what happened there. The gravel didn't taste too good for me. But yeah, Saturday was pretty good at Rochester. First time ever there, and was the fastest in class all day there, and won all my heats overall, and I was combined with the tag restricted lights, so I was happy with that. And then went to New Merca for Sunday for the second day of round 1, and yeah, bit of wet, dry, everything in between. Also won every race there in class, won every race overall except for Heat 3, where I just didn't want to bin the card in the rain. So,
all right.
Yeah. And too
well
fast
done on
well.
that. Yeah, no, that's all right. Thank you. I appreciate the intel there. We will talk at another point in time about how you're enjoying being on a shared track with karts that aren't in your class, and they're a little bit faster than you, but you're getting a bit of a handle on that based on your sim racing experience as well, based on the GEC. Well done. Appreciate that. Congratulations on the top 10 result tonight. Hopefully more luck in Formula 3 next week. And tell your dad that I don't know how he does it. I would have been frustrated with the gravel as well. But live and learn. What would parents be without children to frustrate the you-know-what out of them? But I'm sure you guys had a nice weekend all the same.
Yeah. But I'm somehow still quicker than tags, so yeah. They might have to pick the game up.
That doesn't help in the longer races if you've got to contend with lapping them. Thank you, Bondi.
Yeah, thank you.
There he is, Craig Bond. Very nicely done. GT3 point standings, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Lavers has crunched the numbers there for me already. It tightens at the top. It tightens at the top. Have a look at this. First place, Eli Donaldson, 627. 625, Richard Mitchum. Then Daniel Edmonds, 586. 427 for Jason Wilkinson. And 422 for Rodney Gollan. James Scott with that win tonight goes straight up to 34th position. There have been 51 drivers in total contest a round of Waste Options GT3 Pro so far this season. And Bo Cubis as well, with the fact that he was a later rival to the Series 2. He's popped up in 22nd place, up 4 spots on 243, having only been here the last 3 weeks. So it's very easy to make quick ground early on if you bank the results, and still none the wiser as to how he started from pit lane, or what contributed to him starting from pit lane. So we'll have to have a look at that at a later point in time. Daniel Edmonds, Jason Wilkinson, Rodney Gollan. So Gollan just chipping away at it. So too Wilkinson, but doing enough to stay in the top 5 on points. Big gap there, though. That's the concerning thing. Even though drop rounds, and I didn't get a chance to mention this to the boys, drop rounds do come into the equation at the end of next Monday night. But still, that's an enormous amount of damage. That's an enormous buffer that the top 3 particularly are playing with on everybody else, over everybody else. And I can't see this being anything more than a 3-horse race at the moment. Denchi's already conceded defeat. When you look down, he's only in 10th, and yes, he's already burnt his 2 drop rounds as well. That's fair. That's worth noting. With the DNF and the DNR weeks 1 and 2, he's got nothing to fall back on. He's 10th on 354, but that's 273 off the top at the moment. 273 off Eli Donaldson. I'm just making sure 627 and 354. 27 is the deficit. 300. Yeah, 273. So that's an enormous chunk and probably a bridge too far for Denchi at the moment. But a top 5 still very much on if he keeps on that trajectory. 200 points covers first and fourth. Mercedes, Ford, Porsche dominate the top 10. Sean Dory with that mixed fortune tonight dropped out of the top 10 to 12th on 338, only 1 point shy of John Wright, and Matty Dench only 16 up the road from him. But he did enough, Denchi, to get in there tonight. We did have all the top 10 in the championship on the grid tonight, with the exception of Luke King. So not too bad there. Dan, I know you've seen it on your screen. Pro-Am, that hasn't been attended to just yet. That's still a work in progress by Adam Lavis.
Points are in, but the total championship standings are not quite sorted yet. So maybe we'll come back to this. I can tell you that yes, there's a couple of penalties being issued there as well, which is going to impact the point standings. And we might come back to that once they have been done. As you can see there, they're being done live, and it's going to impact who finishes where. Jordan Sears has picked up a 45-second penalty, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, for passing before the control line. Oh, wow, what a whack over the knuckles. That is, jeez. There's what's coming your way. BMW Z4 GT3, that's legacy BMW GT3. Tomorrow night, Streets of Adelaide, 40-minute race. The server itself opens at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The race will be soon after that once you get through qualifying and practice. Brands Hatch, the Grand Prix circuit, Wednesday night. Adam Lavis and I are here with you live for a 4-race quadruple header, a double dose of sprint racing, the best of both worlds from both the Toyota Rd-6s and the supercars. So you get a bit of one make, you get a bit of multi-manufacturer racing on Wednesday night. From Brands Hatch, 4 races for the price of 2, a double dose of sprint racing there, and the same format straight down the middle, 15 and 25-minute races respectively. It brings with it compulsory pit stops in the second race, 7:25 Eastern Standard Time, 8:40 p.m. for the supercars, with the green flag due at 8:45. Australian Eastern Standard Time, remember all of that. Thursday night, this will be good, our second trip to Japan for the week, to the Suzuka circuit, and that's the full circuit. Not that there's too many to play with there, because there's a very tiny circuit. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, the 3 race journeys there for Formula V. Noting full well that there's an invert top 10 for race 2 and invert top 15 for race 3. The fields have been magnificent so far. 7:30 Eastern, we're on air 7:25. Matt Schmidtke with me for that. Andrew Neal will then jump in and take over the reins. The baton change will happen between Formula V and the Porsche Cup. It will bring with it a change in broadcast feed, so you'll have to change over on YouTube as well. We head to the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps, to the Grand Prix layout as far as pit lane activity is concerned. 40 minutes to journey there. We are bringing you the open split this week from the GSRC Porsche Cup, so looking forward to that immensely. Friday night is GEC night, endurance night, multi-class night, and the racing this week will take us. I'm waiting for Dan because he's my eyes and ears at the moment. I haven't looked that far ahead. Sorry, mate. I haven't got the calendar in front of me as I normally would. Working with 2 screens, not 3. If we do go live, we go to Road America. If we don't, the circuit is still Road America. It's a 75-minute race that'll equate to a little over. I reckon close enough to, what are you getting around there? 2 minutes a lap. So even then, you're talking 30 laps in the hour, 37. You're probably looking at somewhere around 210, 220 kilometres of racing, 75 minutes the journey. If it goes green all the way, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, if we're live, 8:25, but it won't be from me because I'll be in Grenfell. Mountain Men Saturday night, 32 laps, Mount Panorama, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wheel spin Friday night to determine the car of choice for that pilgrimage. And then next Monday night, Mr. Yeoman and I here on the back of an enormous weekend of World Motorsport with the Indy 500, the Canadian Grand Prix and the Coke 600 for NASCAR. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the venue. Sprint racing, the order of the day for
Formula 3. So it's an all-night, it's a full night of racing next Monday night, but it starts with sprint racing and then goes into 60-minute enduro mode or GT3. Our coverage from the Pro Split next Monday night, the last chance we have to check in with them for a little while because we go back to Pro-Am and and AM after that for the sprint rounds. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 10 and 15 minutes for the 2 Formula 3 races. No pit stop requirements there, 7:25 Eastern. Then on to an hour later, the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. So French Canada, a double header next week. 60 minutes the journey, 8:30 Eastern. Our coverage kicking in from 8:25. It is the Pro Split. Merch.tgsrci.com, flash graphics, waste options, trophy AI, and disruptive labs are who we do it with. Thanks to, ladies and gentlemen. I mentioned the merch store first because I want you to go there and support the club that supports you. Merch.tgsrci.com, gsrc.merch.myshopify.com. Sink your teeth into all of that. Looking forward to that immensely. The merch store. Plenty of great deals on offer there. Plenty of great variety in terms of what you can get your hands on. Stubby coolers, bottle openers, shirts, singlets, jumpers, you name it. We've got it in the merch store. So get around that. Still having a look at the results here for GT3 AM. Provisionally, 540 for Dale Sharp, 480 for Alan McDonald, Todd Suter, 462, Logan Griffin, 457, and Tim Watson, 456. The results from tonight specifically, a race win inherited by Ben Goring. Third place in the M went to Jordan Sears after that 45-second penalty was applied. I've got to scroll up to second. Mitchell van der Ven on 414 in the championship and sitting 8th at the moment. The points, 139 covers the top 10, 60 the advantage at the head of the field for Dale Sharp over Alan McDonald and Todd Suter. You've got McLaren, Porsche, Aston, Ford, Audi, Lambo, and Chev all in the top 10. Count them. That's 7 different manufacturers in the top 10 at the moment. And then a flotilla of Porsches beyond that, locking out much of the next 5 in the order, 11th through 15th. But yeah, Sharp is the leader clearly at the moment, 60 points the advantage over Alan McDonald, Todd Suter, Logan Griffin, and Tim Watson. Only 1 point covering those two, 4th and 5th, and then another 15 back to Christian Koch, who has 3 on Scott Wooden. So that is 5 drivers from Todd Suter down to Scott Wooden, covered by 24 points at the moment, with a view to what's ahead over the next few weeks. 4 rounds, 6 races, endurance points for the last one. So plenty still up for grabs on the table here. And as we're seeing based on some of those results, by the way, there are the AM results for you, ladies and gentlemen. Isaac Curtis, Paul Wood. Pro-Am, my apologies. Pro-Am, Isaac Curtis, Paul Wood, Matt Schmidtke, Sean Benici, Nathan Michael, the top 5. Mac Cherry in for 6th. There's a new name for you. Dane Snadden, Brad Coates, Jordan Pianazzola, and Dave Oliver. The top 10. So well done to them. Big field too. Have a look at that as we scroll down outside the top 20, ladies and gentlemen. Very nicely done. Huge field. Sean Rigby a lap down. In fact, he wasn't the only one. Field well into the 30s there. Mitchell van der Ven jumped in the wrong server, realised he had to go to the AM split. And Mornay Vender was an early retirement there. So too Jonathan Harris. Not a night to remember for Jono. So too Delaney and Hodgkinson. Interesting observation. Last one from you, Dan. As I say, thank you to you for your efforts this evening. Great night of racing, great night of entertainment. Carnage aplenty at Suzuka, but then obviously a very mild-mannered, sort of tamer than usual by standards set previously, run around Sebring for 60 minutes of GT3. We enjoyed that, and if you weren't already sure of the AM split results, folks, there they are for you, being delivered by Dan Yeaman at the moment. We're already seeing, particularly with Dale Sharp and a few others there, mate, the importance of just maintaining consistency in this championship. Drop rounds get applied into the equation. They get thrown into the mix next week. But consistency is key. You don't always have to be at the pointy end. You just got to turn up. You've got to be on the grid. You've got to be finishing. You've got to be seeing that checkered flag to remain in contention. And it's not just Sharpie and Alan McDonald and Todd Suter that are examples of that. There are plenty of examples of that over in Pro-Am as well, and also, I guess, to a lesser extent in GT3 Pro. Consistency and just banking, salvaging whatever you can on nights where it's not necessarily going your way are vitally important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for those who are racing for championship honours, yeah, that starts to become very much well. There'll be people who say they're racing for the championship but not thinking about it and taking it race by race. There'll be others who will be starting to plot and plan and execute a season-long campaign, then a race-by-race campaign. So yeah, I think also just the main thing, as we sort of heard from Denchi, even though it wasn't rain here tonight, I think a lot of people were sort of expecting that, and they may have come in, just looking to be patient and waiting for the hammer to drop. And so when it didn't really drop tonight, then as we saw in the back half of the race, the racing picked up a little bit here in Prospect, but nevertheless, it was still a relatively calm and composed affair from lights to flag.
Indeed it was. We've enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you have as well. On behalf of all the crew here, thank you for your company. If you're a Premier League fan, there's some of that to wake up to first thing tomorrow morning out of the United Kingdom. So we're looking forward to that. Business end of the Premier League final day coming up next Monday morning, 1 a.m. So that's all wedged in between the stuff that's going on with the Canadian Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500, the Coke 600. There is final day of the Premier League as well. But tomorrow morning, it's Arsenal and Burnley from 5 a.m. Bournemouth and Manchester City on Wednesday morning. So too Chelsea and Tottenham. And for cricket fans, on Fox later tonight, the Chennai Super Kings up against the Sunrisers Hyderabad as we hit the business end of the IPL as well. So for everybody else, enjoy your sleep. But if you're a cricket or a football fan, enjoy much less of it so that you can indulge in some great sport that's coming up throughout the overnight period of this Monday into Tuesday for you on the platforms of the GSRC. We've enjoyed your company. We hope you've enjoyed what we've brought to you over the course of the last 3.5 hours. On behalf of Dan Yeaman and the entire broadcast commentary and production team here, James Scott, absolutely dominant here at the Sebring International Raceway. And as a parting note, we don't yet have the updated points either from Waste Options Formula 3. So stay with us on Wednesday night. We'll get those to you. So too GT3 Pro-Am. Yes, well done to Stephen Bull as well, ending the dominant winning ways, albeit maybe temporarily, of the 1-9 stable at a night that they'll be happy to forget, and they'll push on into the second half of the season. The 4 rounds that are left, they are still well and truly placed very nicely to go and secure a Team 1-2 in that championship. But yes, they'll be licking some wounds on their way out of Suzuka tonight. On behalf of the crew here, thanks for your company. We look forward to your company again on Wednesday for a full night of sprint racing and probably some wet weather as well from Brands Hatch in the UK. The first of only 2 trips outside of the United States this season for both the 86ers and the supercars. Until then, have a great Monday evening, everybody. I'm Zach Caban. Bye for now.